it was like WeatherTech and UTI. They would always have commercials on.
Yeah.
WeatherTech had it from the marketing side. They were always way cooler looking than the UTI stuff.
UTI always just felt like a NASCAR pit crew guy. You would go like that's it. Just had the uniforms, the look. WeatherTech felt more exotic.
Also, doesn't sound like something that your girlfriend tells you she just got either. Did you have any idea what was going on? What was going to happen?
I was hoping it would maybe get to like 55 or 60. And that was just on a total, like in my head, that was kind of a pipe dream.
That was the home run number.
That was like the home run
lotto number.
And then there's very few times in my life that I've actually been speechless. And when that thing, when the hammer dropped at 130, I did like a new challenger for SEMA for Jeff Dunham. It was like on the Mopar stage at SEMA and the whole deal.
Had to have little car seats in the back for all the little dummies and stuff.
But the Godzilla is actually about 6 inches narrower than a Coyote.
I think the Coyote, George Poteet said it best.
Oh, here we go. I agree with you, but here we go.
When George said, Josh, a Coyote.
He did. You never felt VTEC?
I was just going to say that. You haven't lived until you felt VTEC.
I felt it.
I know you can't feel VTEC because your neck's still fine. You've obviously never felt VTEC. You're listening to another episode of Oil and Whiskey. I'm your host. No, I've always wanted to do that. Sorry. This week we have Brycen Smith, Fabricated Metal, Instagram handle. Fabricated, spelled with a Y, just so it should show up, but just so everybody knows. Owner of PRD Designs, right? PRD Design. All the way in person, in studio. Brycen, good to have you. As always, this episode is brought to you by WeatherTech. Floor Liner HP is WeatherTech's top-tier floor mat. It's the next generation of floor mat protection after WeatherTech's best-selling flagship product, the Floor Liner.
A necessity if you care about your car and want to keep it looking pristine. New car, help maximize resale value when it's time to trade it in. Older pre-owned car, make it look better with a simple interior refresh upgrade. Mask the wear and tear. Laser measured to fit your exact make and model, with thousands of applications available for older and newer models.
No one has the depth of coverage that WeatherTech offers, constantly adding to the list with its latest vehicle releases. High-wall design for ultimate year-round protection, its raised edges contain dirt, water, sand, snow, and everyday messes, keeping that factory carpet in its original condition.
Super durable and hefty, so it lies flat, won't warp or degrade over time. Soft touch feel, nibs on the underside, and retention devices help them stay securely in place. American-made in Bolingbrook, Illinois.
Go to WeatherTech.com to check out their Floor Liner HP and find your application.
Thanks for coming out, dude.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was, it's a fairly easy drive over here. We've actually made it multiple times this year. We come over to a company called Ready Strip. They have things stripped all the way down. Oh, a little closer. There we go.
There you go.
Make the haul all the way out there?
Yeah, I mean, there's, obviously, when you live out in the middle of nowhere in Iowa, you got to find where what places can accommodate what you're trying to do. So
yeah.
How far of a drive is it?
Well, to here was 5.5 hours, but yeah, it's like right
That's
at
not
5.
too bad.
It'll be about like 9 going home as soon as you get a snowstorm to drive through. That'll be fun.
Well, and I was going to stay the night because I'm like, I woke up at 4:45 this morning, and and then it's like, yeah, it's supposed to snow, and I was like, oh, it's maybe just in Chicago, and I was like, nope, it's supposed to do the same thing at home. So
When it does snow, it usually follows the exact trajectory of like your path home.
Interstate
That's the way
80,
it always goes.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just straight down 80 all the way.
Yep.
It'll die out like right in
Right by the time you
eastern
get home.
Nebraska. But
Yeah.
it'll die out 20 minutes before I get to my house.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, Brycen was kind enough to bring us this is the first fully wrapped.
This is exciting. It's my
Christmas
first
gift.
Christmas present of the year.
It's time to go ahead and open that thing
I
up.
figured 'tis the season.
Yeah. It's a confetti bomb.
I was thinking about
Clock radio.
Jingle All the Way. You ever see that? It's Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sinbad. I was thinking.
Nice.
Yeah, we got a little carried away with the tape. Sorry.
Hey, branding. Never miss an opportunity.
There you go.
Right there.
I was going to have
right.
custom wrapping paper made, but I figured that was a little overkill.
Look at that. Right there.
Oh, there you go.
On the overhead. So PRD stands for Project Rupture Duck.
That's what it. Yeah, that's
started
what, that's
as.
what it stems from. Yeah, yeah. That was what I was doing the car project and came up with a website for the car, which was prddesign.com. And then when it came down to do the shop, it was kind of like, just going to kind of keep that for the shop name as, kind of a way that in the future, someday when the car gets finished, by the time I die, it'll kind of live on as an ode to the car project of, something that's affected my career a lot. So,
well, this one's a new one.
Oh, they got name tags on them. Sorry.
This one's an absolute new one.
I wanted to bring something from Iowa. Figured get an Iowa whiskey in there. I've never had it, but
Cedar Ridge.
Cedar Ridge makes some pretty good stuff from what I hear. I have had theirs a little bit, but
the quintessential signature blend. Let's see, handcrafted from pure malted barley, aged in American oak, and uniquely cast finished, meticulously married and matured. With upfront deep stone fruit balanced by a subtle peat finish, the single malt sets the American rich and complex.
Sweet, thanks, dude.
Oh, man.
I figured,
Candies. Cedar Ridge Distillery.
Yeah, I appreciate
Cedar Ridge
that,
I was
man.
hungry during the podcast.
Yeah.
Get some-
Nice little sweet treats on the side there. I dig it. Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah,
This will
no
be
problem.
cool. Let's crack this open.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cedar Ridge. We're going to need some of those, Josh, before you scamper off with them.
Yeah, unless I'm drinking out of Phil's glass.
We'll save that. Poor Phil can't be with us tonight.
I'm going to eat all Phil's candy, though.
Yes, you are.
Well, he already opened it, so he's already going to be
Yeah, dude, I don't
Catch
know
the
what
names
happened.
first.
I am a sucker for a Snickers.
Yeah, I'm not much of a regular candy person, but usually if I go to a candy bar, it's a Snickers.
I eat like a fat kid candy when I'm away from my wife. I'm not allowed to have that. So.
I gotcha.
Centuries old techniques. Man, thank you very much, Bryson. That's amazing.
No problem.
Awesome, dude.
And you wrapped that yourself.
I did.
Good attention to
Don't know-
detail.
Don't know how you.
Cheers, dude.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cheers. Look at that. It's a great glass.
Iowa single malt whiskey. Huh?
Yeah.
Damn. That's
Yeah.
pretty damn good. Quite drinkable.
For some other
Enjoyable.
Generally not a peaty guy. That's got very much more like bourbon, kind of sweeter notes than it doesn't have the Band-Aid aftertaste.
Love it, dude. Good stuff.
The Band-Aid aftertaste.
The Band-Aid aftertaste that's a rough one.
Yeah, when
I always get nervous with scotches and stuff like that. That's
especially when somebody's like, "Oh man, this one's a 27 year and it's super this, super that," and it's whoa.
or when the description has hints of leather shoe in it, then it's like, oh, going into it, I don't know.
How big of a hint of a leather shoe is that?
How many miles are on those shoes?
Yeah, if it's just like a smidgen of it, but
Oh man, we've been looking forward to doing this, and this is gonna be fun. There's a lot to your story.
A lot, yeah.
Yeah,
you've been around the block, man, done some cool stuff.
Yeah, it's been an interesting journey. I don't, I kind of feel like I watch some of these, podcasts that you guys put on, and I'm always intrigued. Obviously, guys like Troy and Ring Brothers and all that, just to hear what they've got to say. Obviously, the amount of experience and all that stuff.
because they're old.
And then obviously when we're going to do this, I'm like, man, what am I going to talk about? And then, I've mentioned it to a few people, and they're like, dude, you've done all kinds of stuff. I'm like, I guess I need to.
Yeah,
I guess I need to go back to my own
Right.
story in my own head.
Yeah, you probably get numb to it, right? Because your head's down, you're on the gas. You're not thinking about where you were, thinking about where you're going, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
And you got a
yeah.
cool thing going now, but I mean,
Yeah.
damn, I've known you since your Ironworks days.
Yeah.
I don't know where you were before that, or if that's where you cut your
that was
teeth.
the first place. Yeah.
Okay.
Right out of WeatherTech, and was there for 7 years, and then went to work for Alan Palmer for a year.
Really?
You guys know Alan pretty
Yeah.
well, so worked for him for a year. That was kind of my way out of the first place, and then went from his place to Scott's Hot Rods, and was there for 6 years. And
So was Alan like super non-committal in hiring you? I know he has a problem with commitment. Great guy, but can't commit to shit. No, love him to death.
What'd you build when you were at Allen's? Was that the Mustang?
they already had it mostly done. I did. I don't know if you guys recall on the white Mustang.
Yeah, I like that car a lot.
Yeah.
If you looked at the door windows on that car, it had metal door frames like around the top of the windows.
Did it really?
Even though it's a Mustang, it's not supposed to have that. But for whatever reason, that was something I wanted to do, and I shaped all those things so the glass actually slid up into a little sheet metal channel.
Gapped out.
And it was that was kind of wild. That was really, I mean, other than some other little tiny mechanical things or whatever, it's about all I did on it. I don't know. When I was at Allen's, I think we did we did like a new Challenger for SEMA for Jeff Dunham. It was like on the Mopar stage at SEMA and the whole
You had
deal.
to have little car seats in the back for all the little dummies and stuff.
No, but it was purple and it was.
He's into weird shit.
Yeah,
Dunham's into weird
for
shit.
Sure. Well, so one of the things we worked on was one of the, I don't know which specific one. I think it was from the Batman Returns with Catwoman and Michael Keaton, and anyway, one of the Batmobiles that Jeff Dunham had. We kind of restored that deal and whatever. Which I don't know. I did some work on that. It was kind of just bouncing around everywhere. But
Take us through the hiring process at Ironworks, because coming right off the heels of listening to Levi's story, coming out of WeatherTech and sending out resumes and getting hired, I want to hear about how that process was and when did it start. A lot of guys out there that are either trying to get into the industry, haven't gotten into, or just got into it. I think it's something we don't talk near enough about the landing of the job when you have limited
skill set.
Limited skills.
yeah,
Hey,
100%.
yeah, interested. I'd be interested to hear how you arrived at, like, that's the spot. This is where I want to go. Because you were Iowa guy originally, right?
Ohio, actually. Yeah. So went to Blairsville, Pennsylvania, WeatherTech campus, and then was there for 10 months ish or whatever, and then basically it was either move home and try to find a job in a dealership or whatever that way. By the time, I mean, this is 2005, so at the time when you would graduate, they would have you list a couple of states that you'd be interested in finding jobs in, and if they had any contacts that were looking for employment, or employees at the time, they would send information out. And so I just put, at the time, I put Ohio because that's obviously where I lived, and then I put Florida and I put California. I was actually born in Florida, and part of my thought was just good weather and whatever down there. But then California, because I graduated high school in 2004, but right before then, that was when American Hot Rod was on TV. Yeah. And I mean,
California,
that was
Hot Rod.
That was when the light bulb went off, like, hey,
That's the Mecca.
You mean you can get a job working in a hot rod shop, like working on classic cars? I'm like, that's what I want to do.
And get talked to like that every day?
Obviously, as a high schooler looking at it from the entertainment standpoint, that side of it didn't really click in my head.
No, of course not. But it was, I mean, we've talked about it 100 times. That's the unfortunate thing that's missing today in the high school side of things, of the selling that wow and that cool and that holy shit, I can do that for a living and get creative.
What part of what made me go to WeatherTech was that, so American Hot Rod was on TV, and then WeatherTech would also have, it was like WeatherTech and UTI, they would always have commercials on and whatever. But then also, like, right about that same time, one of the reps for WeatherTech came to my high school, and we walked into the lunchroom, and he had like a table set up and they had a TV behind him, and they had this promo video on, and there's just hot rods on the screen, and all of a sudden I'm like, I can go there and learn how to work on hot.
WeatherTech had it from the marketing side. They were always way cooler looking than the UTI stuff.
UTI just always, I don't know.
It always sounds.
They had a ton of commercials. I mean, if you were watching, I don't know if it was that Spike TV at that point, or was it still the Nashville network? Oh, Spike TV, probably.
Probably Spike at that point. Nashville was before then.
Yeah.
Nashville.
But I mean, those UTI, they were just like on repeat, constant repeat. But UTI was just felt like a NASCAR pit crew guy. You would go like that's it. Just had the uniforms, the look. WeatherTech felt more exotic. Like it had a lot more to offer.
Well, also doesn't sound like something that your girlfriend tells you she just got either. They should have changed the name. Like that's
not the best. Right? Somebody said at some point in the early days it should have probably come up.
Well, and I think to your point, I think UTI kind of had it was almost like they were appealing more towards like commercial wise anyway, like more guys that wanted to work in
dealer mechanic stuff.
Type stuff, that. But WeatherTech was more geared towards like their marketing was all based on the cool factor, the hot rod, the custom car, the whatever, because they. Obviously, they had their base programs, but then it was like, come learn how to, come take our street rod class. And then, so when I went, I mean, obviously, WeatherTech's gone through insane changes since I went. But it was a chassis fabrication class, and then it was also mixed with high performance engines. And then they had their street rod class, which was then you learned how to do custom painting and sheet metal repair and that sort of thing. But it was. They did such a good job around that end of it of just marketing that to, hey, come, you can take our base classes, but be cool and take these classes like for fun, and, so, like I said, the light bulb went on. I went there and, was broke as a joke. And, basically I wanted to take the street rod class, but then just had zero money to make it happen. So, all of a sudden my stepmom called me up one day and was like, hey, they sent you some information about a place in California looking for, people. And I'm like, I can't afford to move to California. Like, it was just kind of a pipe dream at that time. And a good friend of mine who lived next door to me when I was at WeatherTech, I'm like, hey, yeah, there's this place. I called him up, talked to Roger on the phone at the time, and he's like, yeah, fly out here, try out for the job, that sort of thing. And then
little did you know it was just West Texas. It wasn't really California.
When you say you can't afford California, I mean that's like L.A. Bakersfield. Yeah, you can probably now you're like, yeah, I can afford this.
When you're in Blairsville, Pennsylvania, and you have like $20 to your name, everything's expensive. So, but yeah, so I talked to him. He's like, yeah, fly out here, try out for the job. I was like, well, okay, yeah, sure. And then I was telling my neighbor about it, and I'm like, he's like, well, what are you gonna do? I'm like, I'm not flying out there. Like I can barely buy lunch, So, but he was actually from California, and he lived in, he was like from the Corona area, and actually I think he still lives there. His name was Rory, but he was like, oh, dude, I'll loan you the money to fly out there. Like, that's no problem. Just, get out there, get the job, and then pay me back. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to take your money. And he's like, no, seriously. And he like gave me the cash for a plane ticket, which was nuts, and
hit you with a 20% interest rate on that loan or anything.
I know, right? Well, so, yeah, so I hung out, in Bakersfield for a couple of days. Roger offered me the job, and I called home, and because I had a round trip ticket, and so I talked to my dad, and I'm like, he's offered me the job. He's like, what do you think? And I'm like, well, if I fly home, I'm gonna have to get a job just to get the money to fly back there, because
I'm here now.
It's quite the predicament.
Yeah. So he's like, well, why don't you just stay? He's like, if you can find a place to stay, we'll ship your clothes to you, all that stuff, And I'm like, okay. And so yeah, Roger's like, well, you can sleep on. I got a spare room. I don't have a bed, so I literally for like the first 4 months I slept on the floor, on some blankets, and rented a room from Roger for a couple months. That was but it was cool. At I don't know, about a year or two. Well, I guess it would have been probably another year and a half or so after I got out there. I went to SEMA and ran into my old next door neighbor from WeatherTech and gave him his money back for his airplane ticket. That was
that's pretty cool.
That is cool.
That was a legit feeling. Yeah, I was like,
yeah, that's badass.
Yeah. Anyway, because we kind of lost touch a little bit, but then when I saw him, I'm like, dude, I owe you money, and then I just was like, this is going to happen. It felt so good to like.
That's cool.
Pay that favor back, but
for sure.
Yeah, it was just really. I mean, I was like I said. I was so broke. I probably took any job at that point. But
what Roger Senior? What was the interview process like?
What did he put you on?
So working interview.
Yeah, I mean, he had a couple guys working for him, and I think really it was just having some ability. Like I knew how to basically TIG weld. I mean, it was fairly terrible at that point, but I think he just saw that I was at least somewhat capable, and I think I started working for him at like $9 an hour, and
I think that's what he's still paying guys. Roadster shop way more. Like if you're looking for a job. Sorry, Rob.
PRD design pays more too. Still hiring employees, by the way. But yeah, so I started off like, just literally anything. It was like, hey, I need somebody to do this. I'll try it. I mean, that was the thing for me, is like, I guess if I mess it up, I learned something, and I still have that mentality. I'm like, obviously even trying to run a business, it's like, well, I messed it up. Well, I guess I learned something.
Figure it out. Right?
How does that apply? I mean, we're going to bounce all over. We're going to come right back where we're at.
Yeah.
Thinking back about you starting out at Rogers, sticking your hand up, be like, yeah, absolutely. I'll do that. We also know that, a lot of that stuff, when you are learning and you have a limited skill set, also when you watch the shows, you went to class, you're like, I'm going to be a hot rod builder. never on any of those ads, rightfully so, they shouldn't have. Never on any of those ads did they showed the car coming in and they're like showing the disassembly, showing the antifreeze pouring out, you know, and then they're showing you like, you know, busting up undercoat underneath or, you know.
It's chopping tops and painting flames.
Yeah, it's exactly. It's all.
Oh, yeah.
But they don't ever.
That's what you do.
Especially in the early 2000s. It was,
Yeah. You know, the dynamite sticking to your dickies and, you know, stuff like that. They don't ever.
Well, yeah, because I mean, I remember like because I moved there. So Cinco de Mayo was my first day of work. I'll always remember that. Just
For John York, that's
so
the 5th of May, in case he's listening right now.
So for the reason, obviously, I always remember that because that was the first time in my life I ever had legit Mexican food. Because obviously, when you're from Ohio, it's like very Midwest Mexican food, and
yeah, that's
the
real deal.
First day of work, we went to a Mexican restaurant in California, and that was I was
Roger is addicted to Mexican food.
I am too. I can't help it.
It's hard not to when you're out. I mean, our shop used to be in Elgin, which is like 40 miles west of here, and Elgin's basically like Mexico, right? It's high population of Mexicans. It's very authentic, like, and everywhere you go, I mean, it is legit.
So many
Mexican
different
food.
ways you could have said that. But,
But dude,
there's a
the
lot
same
of
way.
authentic Mexican food in
It
Elgin.
was tacos every day for lunch, man, and good stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I love tacos. Dude.
So you remember Cinco de Mayo, authentic Mexican food?
Yeah, and I mean that's like I said, that was my first day of work out there. But I guess I'm trying to remember where I was going. Oh, the summertime. To your point about what they show and don't show about hot rod building is, yeah, you know, you get a job like, sweet, I'm going to be chopping tops and painting flames. That's
Smoking a little shorty cigar.
Next thing you know,
gas welding.
Next thing you know, you're stuck in Bakersfield and it's 110 degrees and you're scraping grease and dirt and oil and whatever else out of the inside of a frame rail of a 57 Chevy pickup truck and just that kind of stuff. You know, it's like, yeah, I don't recall this in the commercials.
But now, thinking through that and now being a shop owner and having employees and hiring new talent, right? And then getting them to do those things. Do you think about that when you're like onboarding a new guy and saying, hey, this is some of the stuff you do, or that's so long gone? You take it for granted. You're just like, no, you're going to strip all that undercoat and you're going to cut the tunnel out and you're going to do that. Like that's part of it.
Yeah. I think for me, obviously growing up, you know, from being 18, literally getting my first job in a hot rod shop to, you know, where I'm at now is like, I see the process of things and even for the guys, I think anybody that I do hire, they probably have it better than I ever would have had it back then. Now, I mean, when I started at Ironworks, I mean, we were in like a 2,300 square foot shop and, you know, it was not a very large place. So a lot of times you know, in order to do the dirty work, you got to be outside doing it because there's just no space. You know, and even then, I mean, I've got 7,000 square feet, so it's not huge. But even still, like I'm always like, how can we get this clean the fastest and quickest way, to where I don't have to pay a guy a ridiculous amount of hours or whatever it may be to go scrape stuff, you know, outside in the sweltering heat. There's always going to be some of that, you know. It's obviously, I mean, there's a truck we finished last year that the entire truck from the tail pan of the bed all the way up the top of the firewall and the whole bottom side of the hood was all done in that black tar undercoating, like way back in the day. But we were building this truck to save the original paint on the outside.
It makes it nice.
So it was like, because it was a very nice Survivor, and you know, it was like, sorry guys, but you're going to spend a lot of time outside grinding undercoating off. So I mean, literally like 3 weeks of billing on grinding undercoating, and just, you know, because I mean, you can't leave it on there because then you can't coat anything over the top of it because it's all that oily tar stuff and
just smears.
Oh,
it's all it does. Just push it.
I don't care what you go at it with. There's no good way to get it off. So yeah, the customer's like, hey, can we sandblast this? I'm like, how are we going to save your original paint?
Have you ever dry ice blast any of it?
I would love to try that. I have looked into it. It's just the closest place I found to us that does it is like down in St. Louis, and I'm like,
we've done it a few times. The local welding supplier will rent you the machine.
Oh, really?
So they bring it in with just this massive tub of dry ice, and it's like 50-50. You get the right car, and dude, it is like the secret weapon, and it just sheets off of there, and you've got just mint original metal underneath it. But the stuff like you're talking about, the like gooey, tarry, you could be there and you'll know right away. You either hit it and it starts like flaking off, or does sheeting off, or it just says "fuck you," and it like you'll push it. It just sort of like pushes.
He's like, "You're gonna have to come harder if you want me to move."
Yeah, no, I hear you there. It's because even when you go out with a wire wheel or whatever else may be, I mean, you're either like, all right, this is coming off easy, or it's like, I'm gonna be here forever.
Has anybody figured out the technique? Like we run into it all the time because we're doing survivors. And there's just certain things. There isn't a tool that exists. Like we'll take just little propane torches and like a gasket scraper or a putty knife to try to get the bulk of it, because you hit it with a wire wheel, it just gums up. You can't touch it with an abrasive pad because it's gone.
Yeah.
Like there's no good tool for when you're not gonna. What are you gonna do? You're gonna mask the whole car, put it on a rotisserie, push it outside, sandblast it. Even that, there's
if that stuff's tarry, sandblasting
like
doesn't.
No secret weapon.
It's either
The only thing, I mean, I think there's something to the dry ice thing. I don't know if there's a way you could freeze it, because when it's all gummy like that, there's nothing you can do with it. But yeah, when it's if you could somehow freeze it and then chip it off or grind it off at that point, it'd be, I don't know. But yeah,
I know what liquid nitrogen would do.
You're thinking like
Probably shatter
Terminator
the floor.
just liquid nitrogen and then just like go in there with an air hammer and hit the floor,
pop it, just shatter it. Oh, that's gonna
cool.
It'd be a 10-minute job.
I feel like this needs to be like a MythBusters video. Or
It
something.
does.
It should be. Or somebody's got to have the answer and chime in and comment on that, because
Somebody's gonna be like, "Oh, you guys have been missing the boat for all these years." That's what I'm hoping for.
with all that stuff, do you feel like how generally, like, you as a father, you usually want to, I don't know, do better than, like, or not subject your kids to the things you had to put yourself through? Yeah. Do you feel like you're in that position, or are you more in the like, fuck that, I did it, you're going to do it, you're going to get it done? I busted my ass doing this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, there's
get after it.
I mean, I think there's something to be said. Obviously, when you're running the business, you don't have to do that stuff anymore. But I mean, I like to think for myself. I try to think in the way that, like, there's nothing I would ask my guys to do that I wouldn't be willing to do myself.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously it's all part of the job that needs done, and the TV in general has made the hot rod building into such a glamorous, glorious thing, which obviously we all do it because we love it. But, at some point it's work, it's dirty work, it's, hard work. It's, there's times where you're going to be grinding undercoating off. You're like, what'd you do today? Well, here, let me explain it to you. And then it's like, well, that doesn't sound very glamorous at all. But
it sure helps to have that under your belt, because to your point, like, you never want to ask somebody to do something that you wouldn't do yourself. Yeah. But I know when I got my start working for Bill, the very first thing that I did was that he handed me this like sandblasting helmet, must have been from like the 60s or 70s.
Like an old school diving helmet.
Yeah, and a homemade pressure pot blaster. Sent me over to Home Depot to get silica sand, like playground sand, because he didn't want to spend the money on like actual abrasive sand, and made me put up like a party tent like a cheapo party tent in the backyard. And then I took some old 33 3-window coupe back there, and the helmet plugged into compressed air, like into your piston compressor. So I was breathing that all day.
Good.
And then the rest of the crap I was breathing was all the silica sand. And in the middle of the summer, I think I spent like a month out there. And that sand doesn't do shit, right? You're just irritating the
you're
car.
Just warping the metal.
But having gone through that, now it's like, dude, I don't feel bad asking you to grind some undercoating. Like, the car's on a lift. You've got like fresh air. Like, there's an exhaust fan right behind you. You got all the tools you want.
You're not standing out in the beating sun.
Exactly.
Yep.
So going back to Ironworks, so you're just doing whatever it is and slowly progressing. What was the first bit of skill set thing that started taking off before others? Some people it's tubing work, sometimes it's forming, sometimes it's welding. And
I mean, I think in the very beginning it was a lot of chassis work type stuff, and I think in general for most people it's probably easiest to learn that because of obviously the thickness of the metal. It's a little more forgiving in certain aspects and whatever. But there was I can't remember even what year it was that we moved from the 2,300 square foot shop to the 10,000 square foot shop that we had. But there was, before we moved and we're still in the small shop, there was a 57 Chevy truck that a local customer had brought in, that the entire inside of that roof, like above the windshield. There was a big eyebrow panel there. It was all rusted out and, you know, rotted out. And, you know, he's like, well, we need to build this, you know, and I was just, again, I'll try it. You know, I had no clue what I was doing, but, you know, worked with a guy that, you know, he would always teach me little bits and whatever. And I remember building that panel, and I'm sure if I looked at it now, I'd be like, oh, but I remember at that point, I was like, damn, this actually looks pretty good. Like I was, you know, I was pretty excited about it.
Yeah.
And that gave me the bug for the sheet metal side of things. And that's where, you know, I just felt like, I don't know, it was just a different, you know, it's a different type of fabrication. I mean, the chassis stuff is, you know, is what it is, you know, but the sheet metal, there's just a whole different level of, you know, I guess, intensity as far as the way you got to think about it, and, you know, understanding how the metal is going to move and, you know, react and, you know, whatever you're going to do. And so, that gave me the bug for the sheet metal stuff. So then, yeah, I really started trying to hone in on that. And yeah, over the next, you know, years, like I said, whatever opportunity I got to do sheet metal work, that's what I always gravitated toward, because it just, like I said, that's just what I got the most enjoyment out of. I mean, I've kind of always tried to know how to do as much as I can of all of it. And because I think, you know, in general, as you know, when you're trying to hire people, I mean, the guys, you know, if you get one guy that knows how to do 10 different things fairly well, he might be more valuable than the one guy that can do one thing really, really well. You know, and that's just because you can kind of split them out. And so that was always my mindset, was like, all right, you know, I might not be perfect at any of it, but if I know how to do more of it, I can at least broaden what I'm capable of doing on all the different projects. And then eventually I'll find the couple of things that I really hone in on, you know, until those skill sets, you know, rise up. So
you said you were at Rogers for what, 7 years?
7. Mm-hmm.
So comes a time, move on. I'm not, see how to phrase this. I'm always interested in, this isn't a dig, and there's no right or wrong answer, and there's no, you just talked about coming out of WeatherTech and just so happy to be doing the job, right? Getting a job, and it's a job in the hot rod shop. And you work there for 7 years, and then there's a time of, I'm going to leave this job, you know, for whatever reason. You know, everybody's got their reason and stuff. Yeah. I'm so interested in where your mindset was at the point you were leaving, and the things that happened along the way, because the times come to make a change, you know. But I'm interested in the mentality or the mindset at that point of why, you know, why, and then you look. Sometimes you look back and you're like, man, it wasn't that long ago, and I was like, just super excited, over the moon to have this job, and now I'm like, I just can't take it anymore. I got to find the next thing, you know? Yeah. And nobody's to blame for that. It's just, the things that happen in life.
I just had a guy leave a couple weeks ago, and, you know, no hard feelings on my end. I mean, I don't, you know, if somebody's off for a better opportunity, or what they feel is a better opportunity, it's not my place to be mad about it, or, you know, whatever. Yeah. So, you know, and that's where, for me, you know, being the employee and working for people, that's helped shape my mentality when it comes to the employer side of it. Is like, you know, if somebody wants to leave, like, by all means, obviously if I'd be bummed to lose people in general, because you hope people enjoy what we're doing and want to stay. But, you know, so like for me at those times, you know, it'd be different things. I mean, even at that point I was 24 years old, whatever it was, 20, maybe I was 25 anyway. You know, but, I think in general, just, looking for a fresh start, but also, you know, even mentally, it's a huge thing to be at your first place of employment and then leave that place, because there's that side of your mind that tells you, like, what if I can only do this there? Mm-hmm. You know, and if I leave here, am I capable of the same stuff? You know, and I think that's a huge finding out for people. And personally, like me, it was like, once I moved even to Alan's shop, you know, Alan didn't have near the equipment, and, you know, some of that stuff as far as like metal shaping, and those things. But for me, it's even with the scaled back equipment, I was still capable of doing things that I was doing. And so it allowed me to kind of build up personal confidence in my skills. And then when I moved to Scott's, like I said, I worked for Alan for about a year. I moved to Scott's, you know, I came in, and then Scott's had a lot of equipment, you know, so then it was kind of feeling like getting back, you know, to at least some machinery and stuff I was used to. And then, you know, starting to shine over at Scott's, it was just, I think, again, obviously there's different reasons. I won't even go into all that stuff. But as far as like leaving, it was just, looking for something different. I was getting ready to get married. There was different things going on in my own life, and just looking for a change. And so made it happen. And then, again, part of building the confidence of my own skill set was being able to go somewhere else and still achieve what I thought I was capable of achieving, but was nervous because I'm like, oh, can I actually do this somewhere else? I mean, I think in general, I think we all, when it comes time to leave somewhere, no matter why that is or what it is, when you're the employee, I mean, if something's going to better your life, I mean, it's at least the way you feel, anyway.
Well, there's a couple of things. I mean, at the risk of getting too deep, but I think when you say like, if somebody's going to go into a better opportunity, there's no hard feelings. I'll agree. All that's great. And most people would say, especially in public where it's being recorded and everybody can hear, that. Is this being recorded?
Interested to see where this is going.
It's just everybody's listened long enough. Real's real. And this is something that's in my mind, and I want to talk about it and say it.
Phil's not here, so should I timestamp it to edit?
No, Phil's not here, so we don't have to edit anything.
3:43.
Go
ahead. Go ahead.
There's being a business owner and a manager of people now, right? You have a different mentality, and there, regardless of what you want to say, anybody wants to say, and this isn't a wrong thing. There is employees, fabricators. That come through, car builders, CNC machinists, all kinds of employees in this industry that come through at different stages of the game in their life and in your life of the shop. And as those progress through and it's time for them to move on, they not all are the same, right? Sometimes there is absolutely zero hard feelings and the time has come for everybody, and it's, you wish them nothing best, you stay. There's other times you can stay friendly, and it's not hard feelings where you're like, "Fuck this guy, I want to see him fail." But you can't pass up you can't not talk about the personal feelings where it's like, that one hurts.
Yeah.
And you feel talking about Roger thing, like Roger let you sleep, in his room. He had a room for you. He put you up. He saw you from very little to what you are. Again, no hard feelings. I'm not trying to get too deep, but there is a time when that happens. You're like, man, he's moving on. Like feel like I've invested in, again, you don't want to be the one like I'm the one that made him, right? But you're like personal. You're like human nature is to be like, now what? Like I've done all this to just get to the good. Now we're supposed to be at the good point. Like now he's supposed to be my ace employee. Now we've got another 7 years of doing. What we need to be doing. And there's going to be those times with you too, where you're like, man, I gave the guy a loan and I gave this and all, and this is how he repays me. It's the flip side to that is talked about 7 years, it's time for a change. It's time for this. Both the employer and the employee, after you have a period of time, you can look back about it. I think the thing that's not talked about a lot is when you have very limited to zero skills, and you're consuming it at a rapid pace and you're trying to be the best, you see fairly large steps and gains up the stair step, right? Mm-hmm. From day to day and week to week. You're like, man, 10 days ago, I couldn't even do this, and I'm doing this now and you keep doing that and you keep doing that. Well, the bell curve, after you get to a certain point, right, you're pretty good at a lot of things. Well, going from pretty good to the best doesn't happen in those same steps, right? It's over years. So then you get to where you think that you've stalled, right? The employer is kind of like, well, man, he's get to the point where like now we're ready to start cranking and doing things. You're looking at it as like, well, now I've I've plateaued. There's nothing else to do. I need to go to the next shop to get, again, I bring up the dopamine rush, all the time. And it is that. It's like, no, I need to, what's the next thing that's going to push me to learn? And I think that's at the detriment of a lot of employers and employees of not understanding that metric, and then also realizing like, well, if that's the thing I'm wanting, maybe I need to have an honest conversation with the shop owner or the manager about like, I just feel like I'm not seeing those stair steps anymore. So what can we do here? Because those things generally don't exist at the other shops either, right? Because once you get to a certain level, it's just the same. Yeah. Does that make any sense of where I'm going with it?
Yeah, I'm tracking with. I mean, it's very interesting, and it's almost like, you know, as you're saying that, I'm thinking it's like this puppy turning into a dog, right? This puppy's journey to a dog. There's all these miles, and it's happening like boom, boom, and it's like I'm learning to weld. Now I can shape metal. Oh, I know how to shrink and stretch. Like I can stand in front of the English wheel. Oh, I learned how to use the Polmax.
But once he's a grown-up dog, he's a grown-up dog for a while.
It's like, now I know all these things because there is a plateau. It's like once you've you're not going to master it, but you've got the resources and you're comfortable with using the equipment and you're making things now. And then there's that sort of plateau period where it's like, okay, now I'm just using these skills. And now I've reached the point where I'm a productive employee and an asset to the team. And that always seems to be right about the time when it hits I want to grow as a fabricator, which is what I
want a ladder step.
Right. Because it's like, well, dude, you right now you're in this sweet spot. Now you're an employee.
Now you're valuable.
But it's, you know, it's human nature, I think, in this industry that's right about the time that maybe boredom sets in, curiosity, what else is out there, Instagrams. I mean, just this vast sea of seeing cool shit that's going on at other shops. And then you start poking around, and
that wasn't a question. There's no right or wrong answer to this. No, I think it was something interesting to kind of go through that.
It's a good topic. It really is.
I think you're spot on all of it. I mean, I think, you know, for me, you know, deciding to leave Ironworks, it was, you know, there's a guy, Sean McDougall, that worked for Roger at the same time, and you know, he was like kind of my mentor, you know, during those 7 years, and he kind of he left for a little bit and would come back and, you know, whatever, but he still knew a ton. He was just like, he just has that, he always used to joke that he was left-handed. So it was just his artistry side, you know, coming out in him and all that. But anyway, he taught me a ton, and just, you know, I learned so much from him. And, you know, like I said, I think at one point he had left kind of there towards the end, and pretty much everybody else in the shop was younger than me, you know, and I was only 20, you know, 25, you know, and so I just felt like I was at a plateau. Like I just felt like, where am I going to learn more from? Yep. You know, because the guy that I considered my mentor was kind of in and out and whatever, and there was, you know, different things there, and I just felt like, you know, for me, I didn't know where next would be, and I don't know if I didn't really like that feeling of feeling like, you know, I'm at this plateau, but am I only here because of where I'm at, or can I take this further, you know, somewhere else and whatever. And, you know, again, like I said, you know, when you leave somewhere, you know, I was on a personal journey, a little bit of trying to find out about myself a little bit, you know, as a fabricator and whatever. And I think my perspective on it now is that, like, you know, I knew, obviously I even look back at things I know I did back then, and I'm like, I know I would have just cringed probably if I looked at it now, you know, but as far as, like, you know, quality of work and all that sort of thing. But, like, you know, when it comes to, I guess the overall, you know, picture of what I can do, I felt like just the fabricator guy. Like, this is what I am. I'm a fabricator guy. This is what I be. But, you know, when I moved on to Allen's and when I moved on to Scott's, you know, I felt like my mentality of always trying to push myself to learn more and to do more. You know, at Scott's, I really got to do a lot more. I mean, I was only there for 6 or 8 months, and he made me shop foreman, and, you know, next thing you know, I'm like wiring cars and, you know, doing stuff like that. And so I started broadening out my skill sets. And to me, I was kind of my journey of going from just being a fabricator to kind of becoming a builder, you know, and knowing more about the entire thing. I mean, obviously Scott's does tons of, you know, suspension stuff and, you know, whatever that way, but just learning, I guess that side of it too, is like learning, you know, just not how to weld sheet metal together, or, you know, weld some, you know, tube X member together, or build some headers or whatever, but just actually taking that and understanding why we're doing what we're doing, and planning the whole process out, and kind of becoming more of a builder. And I think that's the journey for me, was kind of going up to that next level of
multifaceted. I mean, it's important to be a car builder in this industry. That's probably one of the biggest issues I see with guys that are solely focused on sheet metal, is that when it comes time to venture out past that, there's a lot of other aspects of building a car, and they're great at it. They focus so much on their craft, but it's like, dude, then just do that, because there's a lot that goes into plumbing,
Just
wiring
hanging
a car,
hanging a
painting
Gen
car,
5 AC unit, knowing the things around that.
So to your point, either pursue it, learn it all, and become sort of a multi-tool, or stay in your lane, stick with what you know. Don't.
Yeah.
Well, some people are better served just staying in their lane.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's not a slight on anybody, like, but if you
Tubing
are,
guys. Tubing guys. No, because there's some that are out there. I mean, I've brought this up before, but truly talented tubing guys, right? That
talking like
exhaust tubing,
roll
turbo
cages,
tubing, and roll cage.
Okay.
But if you're doing
like, I always call it like motorsports fabricators.
motorsports
More
fabric,
I got you.
they see in a different dimension, right? A third or fourth dimension, and they can do things that people only dream about doing in tubing stuff. But by and large, there's exceptions, but by and large, you hand them a flat sheet of metal, right, and say put a 90 brake in the middle, right? And we're going to put 2 holes there to mount that. It's like, can I just like bend it out a round bar, and I can do it out tubing and then do a
I
bracket?
feel like that's when the Dicom comes out and they paint the whole sheet, and then there's a height gauge somewhere involved in that.
And it's not a slight at all.
Dude,
it's a
just
different
bend it. Just fucking bend it. Like mark with the Sharpie and bend it.
It's a different skill set. But the same goes to the guy that, by again, general statement, the guy that can completely scratch form, reverse curve, Delahaye, front fender, whatever it is, and match the other side. Then you're like, hey, can you like go ahead and run the exhaust on that thing too? It's like, what are you thinking? Like just straight and like an H pipe, or like what is?
We're doing miter cuts on this one.
Yeah, it's a skill set difference that especially as we've talked about the telescope thing, as you get more and more focused and more skilled in a certain skill, it's more difficult to have your brain think. Sometimes when you're talking about that and broadening out, it's interesting when you think about the double-edged sword of the curiosity and the constant search for fulfillment creatively and skill set wise across this entire industry, because that's the single thing that generally is why we still exist as a whole, as an industry, is from the customer level to the manufacturer level to the shop owner, is the constant scratching of the itch, so to speak, and to try to do a little bit better, or do something they haven't done before, or learn a new skill set, build a different type of car, play with a different type of technology, and learn that. The employees and fab level side of things is the exact same thing, and that's also what causes the most grief for shop owners, is that constant drive for the next thing. The problem is sometimes that I think that we owe a duty on this to not to be a Debbie Downer, but to there's peace in clarity on some things, to know that sometimes that drive, when you get to a certain level, it's easy to be like, man, I'm tired of like these deadlines, and I'm tired of like budget, and I'm tired of like this. I just want to go, and I just want to like from scratch build a car from scratch and have it take as long as it takes and touch everything on the car and nobody ever have a problem. Like that reality doesn't exist.
It doesn't.
And that's sometimes the problem of like, well, man, I'm tired of like doing trans tunnels and wheel tubs and doing stuff like this and stuff like that. I want to just build from scratch.
I think and I see some great fabricators do this, is that maybe you are doing the same task over and over again, but you personally can change it and improve it, make it better, and learn from it, and get like better and better and better. I watched certain guys in the shop do things, and some guys will like build an exhaust system, and like they just build an exhaust. They know how to do it, and if they build one today and they build one next week or one next month, it's going to be exactly the same. And I watch other guys do, and everyone's better, and it's more detailed, and there's new techniques, and like the hangers are different.
Hey, I was thinking about doing some of this.
Yeah, and the finish works different. And it's like, dude, you're elevating your game. You're sort of challenging yourself, and the byproduct is that they're getting that fulfillment, I think, out of it, rather than just saying like, well, fuck this, all I do is exhaust systems. It's like, dude, better yourself.
Yeah,
set some goals.
Find the
set a
creative
shot clock.
search in each individual one of those projects.
Yeah, can I do it quicker? Maybe this is the one that I've got the skills down. I've got the finishes. I've got the technique. I'm going to shave 6 hours off of this one. Maybe that's the next challenge.
Right.
And just keep moving the needle at it.
Yeah, sometimes the challenge isn't necessarily doing it better, but sometimes just doing it faster.
Yeah.
Or even that one that you're doing, you're like, you know what? I'm probably going to do another one of these. So I'm going to go ahead and while I'm doing it, I'm going to knock out this jig and this jig. And I'm going to go ahead and tack this together because I know this is my, profile jig. So my X pipes, I'm going to knock out an X pipe in 30 minutes now, whereas it used to be, again, I think that's an important thing of finding your own personal challenge creatively, or a level of difficulty in each one of those projects.
Well, I think, once obviously I moved to Scott's and everything and then built some pretty cool stuff there. And then, honestly, since my Ironworks days, I'd been dreaming about my car project, and it was kind of it was more of a pipe dream back then. But then I got to a point where I'm like, because of me pushing and trying to learn more skills and, grow in my knowledge of what I'm doing and not just I'm not just a welder or a fabricator, but I can become a builder because I know how and why I'm doing all these different parts. And, that's why I kind of decided to start pushing forward on the car, was that it was a dream that I had, and I'd already kind of started putting a few things together and, whatever, but it just, that was kind of my next push, was like, I want to do this because it's a dream of mine, but also I have, Justin allowed me to stay after hours as long as I wanted and, use the shop and, build stuff in there. And that was cool. And that's obviously, I'm sure I probably cost him a lot of money keeping the lights on and, whatever. But I greatly appreciated, that opportunity. But man, just, using even just my own personal project as a way to, to continue to compound on what I know and what I'm capable of. And, obviously, I'd never built anything out of aluminum before, really. And so even just trying to, know, because you work with steel and it's one thing, then you go to aluminum and it's like, what, like, oh, it's just so much easier to shape. And you're like, yeah, go have fun welding it. Because the welding is a whole different animal. And then the metal finishing is a whole different animal. And it's just, there's still more, I don't care, I say it all the time. I tell my guys that sometimes too, is that like every single time I grab a piece of metal to do something, I really want to try to learn something new about it. And even if that is I love headers and exhausts are one of my favorite things to do. I love building headers and exhausts. It's just, I don't know. I don't find it super complicated. I understand, I have built enough of them now to where it's, it comes pretty easily to me. But one guy, a piece of tubing, and he's like, what am I supposed to do with this? Like, it's a totally different thing. And so,
the math part of it gets me.
Well, and just even understanding, how to cut a bend properly. Because if you're cutting through a radius, you can't, if you cut it wrong, you're going to end up with a big long oval like this.
Yeah, versus, that's the math part of it. That's the thing.
Or you just run a tubing cutter around it to scribe it. And then I do it the stupid way. The tubing's never been a strong point of mine. Like, I can get through it, like build an exhaust system, but I'm not the guy that's going to like knock out a set of like badass headers. And my mind just isn't, it's not programmed that way. Some guys, they just see it. And, I'm the guy that there's more little slivers welded in there than should be, because I'm not like taking just even uniform 45s and cutting everything like and perfectly getting there. It's like, how come he did that and it all landed and came out square and I got to fucking weld all these slivers?
Fucking math, baby. That's the problem.
Damn.
I can't. Yeah.
Geometry.
Yeah.
I always, I don't know. Ohio did like, I don't know, whatever. I don't even remember what age I was when they did the, whatever. They want to rank you as in your knowledge of certain things or whatever. But I remember testing as like if I recall, it was like 8th grade year, something like that. Maybe it was high school entrance or something like that. But I remember ranking as like a junior or a sophomore in college in geometry, like, as far as just understanding. So I don't know. I think that side of it's just always been something
Did they rank you at all at the Answer Center? Did they have that program?
No, they didn't.
The funny thing is I graduated high school.
I'll let you have that one.
I graduated high school with like a 2.3 GPA. I was not school
was not really interested.
Yeah, not my thing.
I graduated high school with a 2. I was second in my class of 3. So
the personal project.
that's true. That's a true statement.
That's true. It is. That's a good one to chat about, because I know of it. I know I've followed you for years, but to everybody listening, I'm sure not everybody's familiar with the car, but the Rupture Duck, right? That's what you were referring to. And where did that start? Where the concept, the idea, was it to scratch an itch? Was it to improve your skill set? What?
I think we all have cars that we look back on that other people built that or even a couple that between those they just do something in your mind that you can't stop thinking about. And so one of those for me was Foose built his P32.
Yeah, it was cool.
And the car wasn't anything like insanely over the top.
Just a neat concept.
Super well executed. Yeah. The concept, kind of the P40 Warhawk, nose, mixed in with the 32 and whatever. So there was that. And then about the same time, Dan Webb had built his little tribute Golden Submarine, which that car,
so good. Ridiculously.
That's still the couple of times I've seen it over the last 15 years or whatever it's been, that every single time I see it in person, better. I'm just like,
that's one of those that makes you not want to do it because it's too good.
100%. So, I mean, I guess, obviously those two cars were massive inspiration as far as just like pushing myself. Like I saw those and I was just like, you could build that out of nothing essentially. Yeah. I mean, the Foose, obviously it was a 32, but the front end was all aluminum and all that. But, that one, that Webb built, like that car just blew my mind, just from the pure aspect of just knowing somebody took flat metal and made that thing. And, the car project, obviously, I mean, it's basically how it looks right now. It's actually perched up on top of my office to get rid of, open up some floor space. I made the mistake of moving across the country and then starting a business and having 2 children. So now I have 0 time to do anything as far as fun projects. So
you could always come back to it. It's not going to rust.
Yeah, no. And, someday we'll start working on it. I'm not worried about that. But yeah, I mean, the whole idea with the car was I started looking around at airplanes because I started, this is probably 2007, 2008. I mean, I've only been doing this for a couple of years at that point. So when, I wasn't capable of doing what I did to the car now, even when I started. So, but I, just started looking around at airplanes because obviously looking at Foose's car, I was like, man, I'd like to make a car that actually, there's so many cool old warbirds that I'm like, there's got to be something that would look kind of badass on the front of a car. And I've always loved the 30s era. Like, we build 99% truck stuff at the shop, but I would love if somebody came in and was like, here, build me a 32 whatever, or a 30, anything from the 30. I love the 30s era and would love to get into more of that. But, so I was kind of looking at 30s coupe style bodies, and I actually had bought a 27 Dodge coupe from, I think Roger owned it at the time, or anyway, it was like paid like $500 for it or whatever. So I kind of took some of that body and I was like, oh, I can do this and that. I had these ideas, and then I was like, this body's too different from what I actually want. I just ended up selling it to somebody else and kind of kept the measurements. But I think I was sitting in it was right up by Roger's old shop. There was a McDonald's they just built there, and it was right by the airport. So they had like a bunch of airplanes up on the wall in the McDonald's, and we were eating lunch one day, and me and some of the other guys, and one of the pictures was a B-25, and I was like, man, the front of that airplane would look badass on the front of an old 30s hot rod. And so that was kind of the mindset at first. And so I started, kind of looking, I was like, yeah, that would actually really work pretty well. So anyway, had these all, concept in my head and, whatever. And then, really that's just kind of where it ran from. So, well, then when it actually came time about 2015 that I started building the car, I'd kind of built a chassis, and I actually had a little 270 baby Hemi that I had bought off of Roger at the time. And I was kind of thinking about keeping it old school, straight axle and all that. Well, then obviously I'm young, so I wanted something that would actually maybe be fun to drive, and not. I was talking to your guy who said, he wanted to go for a ride in the Model A, and you asked him if he knew what it was like to ride in a tractor.
That's it, dude.
I was like, that was where my mind went on the straight axle stuff.
Yep.
And, I was like, I want something that'll
super cool tractor though.
Yeah, it's a badass tractor.
It's definitely a badass tractor, that's for sure. But yeah, so I was like, it'd be cool to run independent up front and all that. So I ended up, when I was at Scott's, I, went through and I basically cut off the back half of the chassis and cut off the front half of the chassis and used the little bit that I had made in the middle, but we had a slip roll bender. So I'd curve the tube, the two rails and all that. And then, built the front end, and I'm probably going to rebuild the front end again, cause there's a few things I don't like about it, but, I decided to actually put a at the time it was all new technology because this was 2016, but it was 2015 Mustang rear end, which is all the independent stuff. And so at the time, just to get the car rolling, I just mounted the cradle to the tube frame. But since then, I've gone through and I got rid of the cradle and built all the mounts, incorporated into the tube chassis. And so it's, it's Mustang based, but it doesn't look exactly like Mustang stuff and all that in the rear. But yeah, so the body was just, do it out of aluminum, make it look like a B25 in the front end. That's why the windshield looks like it does, and the nose is kind of a different shape. Obviously, the Dakota Digital at the time, that was the most expansive gauge cluster system that they had done at the time when I got that deal, because obviously it's got all the different stuff in it, and it was kind of for me it was like, I'm mixing like three different worlds here. Obviously the hot rod, performance world, a little bit with trying to make it, so it's got the 2.3 EcoBoost in it. So I wanted something different too. And then, Ford released that they were going to be coming out with the EcoBoost in the Mustang. I'm like, that'd be pretty sweet in a little aluminum, 1,800 pound hot rod. So went with that, the 6-speed, did the Mustang rear. So I'm mixing, obviously that side of it, the modern stuff with the old school bomber, things, and just trying to tie it all together. And so I actually have a real set of B25 Mitchell cockpit seats that in it. And there's a guy out in California that at some point he bought the entire remaining surplus of B25 parts because they were out of service and all that stuff. And so, I searched him out and was like, "You got any seats?" And he's like, "I could probably find something." So yeah, it was. I got those, and I got a number of other B25 parts. There's some of the gauges I have for the dash that I'm going to repurpose. That'll still have the faces and everything from, B25 gauges, stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, it was, the car for me was just a way to build something cool, kind of push my skill set forward and, whatever. And then I got into the name, just researching all the B25 stuff, trying to figure out how to make this all work. And then the Doolittle raid where they bombed Japan after, kind of in response to Pearl Harbor, they took the B-25s off the aircraft carrier and did a whole thing, and just diving into the actual history of it. So the Rupture Duck was the number 7 bomber that took off the aircraft carrier, and then they crashed in the China Sea, and then they got rescued, and the pilot ended up writing the book 30 Seconds Over Tokyo, which then they made a movie of, and all that. But that bomber is actually kind of what started nose art a little bit on airplanes. Was because they were doing the practice takeoffs at the runway in Florida, and they'd park them out on the tarmac and they'd rev them up, full gas, and then they would release the parking brake and the planes would just jump forward and they'd kind of start skipping across the runway before they'd actually take off. And so they joked that they looked like an injured bird, hopping along before it flew off. And so that's somehow they joked that your plane looked like a ruptured duck, which the ruptured duck was a slang term. They give like a honorable discharge pin, which was an eagle with its wings spread. But the castings were so bad back in the 30s that they said it looked more like a duck than an eagle, and so they nicked. It was like a service. The service. It was a slang term, like, "Yo, you're a ruptured duck," like because you got.
Yeah.
And anyway, so that's where that came from. Anyway, one of the crew members painted the nose art on the side of the plane, and then right then Doolittle showed up to the deal, and they were like, "Oh shit, we just defaced government property," and then he was actually like, "This is awesome," like,
yeah.
And then so then everybody started painting nose arts and all that. Anyway, so that because the book and it's all old stuff now, but because of all that history, I was like, yeah, the Rupture Duck, that would be kind of
cool. It is
different
cool.
now.
Yeah,
Something different,
I like the history there.
And so anyway, I dove way off the deep end in the history side of it, and that's some of the stuff that I mean, even in high school, that's probably the one class I actually got an A in was history, because I don't know, for whatever reason I always liked that stuff. And so diving into the bomber stuff and trying to figure out how to incorporate all that stuff together. And I've still got so many different plans for the car, and and all that. But yeah, I mean, at this point, it's a body shell sitting on a chassis with an engine and trans and all that stuff. I kind of just have to finish inner structure in the body and then build the doors and the rest of it.
It's a huge undertaking, man. There's no doubt about it.
I mean, I'm already, I don't know, I'm probably 1,400-ish hours into the whole car right now, the way it sits, and obviously there's at least that to go.
Yeah, you're about at the halfway point. I think that's an interesting project, though, when you think about guys wanting to advance their skill set. Aluminum's not that expensive. Steel's not that expensive.
It didn't used to be. You bought aluminum lately?
Yeah, we don't run through a lot of aluminum, but point being, it's not like you got to go out and buy a project car. If you're really enthusiastic about something,
Get a sheet and start building something.
like start building something.
100%.
I mean,
Art.
And
even.
it doesn't have to be a car. It could be build yourself a little bomber chair for your room.
yeah,
Or something,
or,
I mean,
and if you wanted a
table,
car,
a
like
desk.
I remember, the Tin Man, Brian Lindbergh.
Mm-hmm.
He started. We're all kind of the same age, and early on, he made this like T kind of styled roadster. That's cool, very cool. I mean, that's sort of what he made a name for himself doing, and like, nothing prevented him from going out there and grabbing.
when you see
some
guys
sheet
like
metal and making it.
Chris Runge, he builds all those
yeah.
like
Yeah.
Porsche like kind of rear engine stuff. I mean, he's just a dude that just started forming metal on his own just for kind of for fun. And then you look what he's doing now and it's just like, my gosh. And it's all because he just started messing with it, you know, and that's where, when it comes to pushing skills forward, I don't think there's an excuse for anybody to, obviously, we all have time that we can spend doing extra things. But if you really want to push your skills forward in something, just make time.
Right. Well, you did it at the right time. You have an excuse now. You have a business and you have 2 kids.
Yeah.
That's a multiple really good excuses because that things really do change.
Oh, 100%.
At that point.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you've realized, for me, I wish I had the energy at the end of the day to go pick up some sheet metal tools and get after it, at 7:00 at night. But, you got a business, you got a house, you got a wife, you got kids. Things change rapidly.
I kind of wish
30s and 40s.
There's sometimes I either wish I had a small personal shop at the house that I could have some tools in, because then I just park the car in there, and then when the kids go to sleep by 8:00, I can go out there and tinker for 2 or 3 hours, and I'd probably actually get something done. But now everything's at the shop, and 10 minutes away. It's like I'm not going to go back there, obviously, and that sort of thing. But again, as the kids grow older, it'd be fun to obviously get it finished up at some point here, and
I think there's just a window of opportunity for guys. You've got to hit that sweet spot.
Yeah.
If you're 20s, early 30s, like it has a shelf life when you can get after it and sort of do things like that.
Well, half of it is the time, but there's also the portion of it that is your fulfillment is coming from different things too. Because if you were not getting fulfilled, with business, wife, kids, and life things, let's face it, the time wouldn't be a problem. You would.
It's a good point.
If you had to be fulfilled by doing that thing, we do all kinds of things with no time because it's something that has to be done, or it's fulfilling for the business and like that. So it's like, you are, there's the creativity and the search and the building something by building your home and building your family and building, the kids and doing stuff like that. But as time,
priorities change.
Kids. I'm basically empty nest now. The kids are gone and there's things, and so you start looking at it like,
You're that old now?
Yeah, I'm old. I'm super old.
That's what's going on with that model train set in the basement then, huh?
Yes. I have no problem making time for that.
What you were making?
It's HO class.
What is that?
It's the big class. It's the big one.
Okay. But you were making some Gary, Indiana, or what are you trying to replicate down there?
Yeah, it's a
Munster. Yeah, I forget what you're doing.
Full scale model of 1986 Gary, Indiana.
Okay.
Yeah, down to every last detail. Idiot.
Yeah, no, and I think, to your point, obviously we all, if there's something we need out of our time, you know, I mean,
you'll find a way. Yeah.
But I mean, part of that for me is obviously that was a way to push forward my skill set, and it definitely opened up opportunities even while I was building it, to do things I never even thought I would be able to be doing. You know, but then, you know, now obviously owning the shop, I mean, it kind of fulfills a lot of that because I'm still obviously as a builder using that. And now that it's not that the dream has changed. I mean, someday I definitely, will finish the car, but like now, you know, I get a ton of fulfillment out of fulfilling other people's dreams. You know, like when a customer, I mean, with the truck we finished last year, the customer picked it up from the shop and drove 2,000 miles back to San Francisco. And then he's been, you know, he drives it all the time. The dude's got a Porsche GT3 RS. He's got a Porsche Dakar. He's got a Bronco. He's got a bunch of other stuff. You know, but he, you know, he tells me all the time, like, you know, like, yeah, I just love driving the truck, you know, which I'm like, you're driving a 71 Ford F-250 4x4. And you're choosing that over, you know, the things. I mean, he's got like over 7,000 miles on that thing, which for a year's time,
it's awesome.
You know, it's pretty good.
It's pretty
especially when you got, you know, the other things that, you know, you have the easy choice of being able to drive and, you know, whatever. Sure. And so, you know, getting to do that stuff for people and I don't know what it is with the truck stuff, and I'm sure you guys see it too. And it's like that with all cars, so I can't really say it's just the truck stuff, but for some reason, it seems like with the trucks, there's a slight bit of different connection that some customers and people have with trucks because their grandpa had one for working wherever, you know, they would ride with their grandpa on it, or they'd go with their dad and or whatever it would be, or hey, I learned my grandpa had one of these.
Such a great point.
Like I don't know what it. I mean, people have this about muscle cars, but in general, muscle cars were still specialty a little bit. So
most of the stories that you hear from customers and other, you know, enthusiasts and customers, the story about the muscle car was generally the thing they saw. Right,
whilst in the truck,
right? But it's the thing that they wanted to experience, and now they're building it to experience that, which is fine.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. But the level of connection is with the truck. There's so many times I experienced a majority of life, or some of my greatest memories in life was in this truck. Not just I knew a guy down the street that had one. It was my grandfather had one. This was the first thing that I ever drove. I remember every Saturday going, you know, doing this in this truck, or my dad drew this truck. I used to remember listening to the truck coming down the driveway because I knew my dad would. So there's very significant visceral memories around those vehicles. So the recreation of that is a different connection than this badass down the street that used to bang all the chicks had this Mustang. I want to have one. You know what I'm saying? They all mean something. Yeah.
Dude, that absolutely like resonates with me, and that was the sole reason for doing the Legend trucks. That was the reason behind it. When we came up with the concept, I mean, that was probably 2017, something like that. That was exactly why we did it. It was that, man, everybody's got a story about a square body Chevrolet. Like, you bring it up, and it's, my grandpa had one, my dad had one, my uncle had one. We plowed the fields with it. We went hunting with it. We did this with it. And to this day, every single one we've built, every single one of those guys has one of those stories. It's different on every one. It's that I'm building this because my dad had this same, and I remember doing this. I mean, I've got countless memories of them from my dad that had multiple different square bodies, and everybody's trying to sort of relive that, and there's more of it in the truck community. And
I think, you know, like, so this green truck that we finished last year, you know, that truck, the customer had, and I might botch the story a tiny bit, but from what I remember, if I remember correctly, was his dad owned this company. It was that one right there in the middle. Yeah, his dad owned this company, and his dad had an engineer that worked for him. The engineer bought the truck new, or at least fairly new. Drove the truck for a while. He always saw it as he was a lot younger. Always saw it, you know, always at his dad's place, and then. He went to college, graduated, started working for his dad's company, and then that guy sold that truck to another engineer that worked for him, And then basically he told that guy, like, you know, hey, don't fuck it up because I'm going to buy it off you someday, you know, kind of thing. And so eventually, you know, the guy, you know, came to him and was like, hey, you know, that old truck? He's like, yeah, I'm done with it finally. And so, you know, he acquired it. So he's known the truck for just years and years and seen it, you know, around his dad's company. And then it was a 2-wheel drive, and, you know, we converted it to 4-wheel drive and all that stuff. But I mean, again, just the level of connection, you know, chasing that truck and, you know, having the memories with it, and then finally getting the opportunity to buy it and own it, and then turn it into something that he really wanted. You know, in general, because he, you know, it was a 2-wheel drive. He's like, yeah, I like the truck, but I was like, I always wanted it to be, I always wish it was 4x4. And then, you know, he watched a video on another truck that we did there. I converted it to 4x4, and he was like, I didn't even know that was possible. And then, so, you know, we talked about it, we made it happen. But then, you know, again, you know, just to turn it into something that's original paint on that truck. So just to,
that's awesome.
To be able to take something like that and make it look, you know, and drive. Again, he flew out to Pella, Iowa, and drove all the way down Interstate 80 all the way to San Francisco. So to be able to do that with it, you know, is
impressive.
Pretty cool at that point, you know. And but again, you know, there's another truck that we've got in the shop. It's a 71 2-wheel drive long bed that the guys, I don't know, I might have a picture of it up on the Instagram. I don't remember if I do or not, but you know, the customer, you know, his grandfather owned it new, and then I think his uncle had it for a while, and then you know, he ended up with the truck. So it's got this long family history. Well, now we're, you know, it's on a Scots chassis, and it's getting a supercharged Godzilla, and, you know, we're going to paint it back to its original colors just so it has grandpa's truck feel. Yeah. You know, but still just the connection with the truck, and just, you know, I don't know, like I said, I mean, it's just to me, it's, I know, because we do primarily trucks, that's the stories I hear, but it just seems like with trucks in general, there's just that, I don't know, there's just that extra.
Well, let's get into that. I mean, we've kind of skipped past how that even came about.
We blew, before we even get there, we blew over your whole, like, I'm going to kind of step away from the hot rod industry.
Yeah, that's where I was.
I'm going to try something different.
Yeah.
Is that where you're going with that?
Yeah.
I was going right into.
No, I was going, you know, you leave Scott's.
Okay, then you go, you take the reins. You go ahead.
And the next thing would have, you went to Trick Tools, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. After Scott's. And what was the to Jeremy's point and question, what was the thought process there of trying something different?
You know, working at Scott's and everything, obviously pushing skills forward, doing all that stuff. You know, and then, you know, we cranked out a number of SEMA builds within a certain, you know, couple of years there. And I just there was one SEMA that I worked like 5.5 months of hours in 3 months time before SEMA. And I was just like, didn't see my wife.
But you wanted to progress as a fabricator, right? Remember, you wanted to get to the next thing.
That's how you progress.
No, 100%. Yeah, no, 100%. And, you know, so I think, you know, Justin was talking about moving to Tennessee. And my wife wasn't keen on the idea of leaving California. Obviously we did anyway, but, you know, I was just kind of trying to figure out what my next opportunity would be, because the original plan was actually to stay in California, you know, to keep my wife close to her family. My brother had moved out there after I moved out there to follow me out there. So it was kind of like, well, maybe I should, you know, stay close. So that was the original plan. And then in 2016, I took the car to SEMA, and it was in the Trick Tools booth at SEMA in 2016. And, you know, at that point, Bruce, that owns Trick Tools, he was like, you know, hey, I had this crazy idea if you ever feel like moving to Pella, Iowa. And I was like, yeah, okay, right on. Like, you know, because at the time I'm like, yes, I'm not moving to Iowa. What are you talking about? Like, but then also there was that part in my mind that went, I wonder what he actually has in mind here, you know? And, you know, it was mainly to bring somebody in that knew how to actually use the equipment that they sell, and then be able to help them make marketing content in order to obviously help them sell it. So, you know, and at the time, I think I was feeling a little bit burnout just from the number of hours, you know, worked and all that sort of thing. And just, you know, wanting to kind of maybe get out of the shop a little bit. I mean, I won't even go into my health ailments. I've got a bum hip, and my back's always hurting me. I mean, literally every day I'm limping for some reason, you know, and
just give it a few more years, buddy.
Oh, trust me, I'm already due for like a full hip replacement.
You saw my crutches in the corner. I'd leave those there. I don't want to be on camera on crutches.
No, and I mean it seriously. I'm due for like either a full hip reconstruction or a full hip replacement. It's like, but part of that stems from a issue I had as a child. So it's not just because of work or anything.
Well, if it's any consolation, my mother-in-law had it done. It's like nothing. Just like she's like running week later.
I've heard it's pretty good. But the problem is, I mean, I'm 39, and they say they only last about 20 years.
You want to do it once. So you're trying
that's what they say. So at this point, I'm either due for this. If they do the hip reconstruction, they basically use everything that's there and they just reshape everything, and then it takes like 6 months to heal, and then you're back at it. And apparently, you can basically return to normal life as much as possible. But with the hip replacement, there's all these limitations, weight limits, and lifting, and all this other stuff. Anyway, that's a whole different thing. But no, for the move to trick tools. I just started talking with him like, hey, what did you have in mind? He's talking about it, whatever. And so it just started to become one of these things to me in my mind that I just felt like if I didn't try it, I would always kind of wonder what if, because I felt like I could still use my skills, and still, do it that way, but maybe in a less pressure situation where I'm not just, having to work 70 hours a week or, whatever it may be, in that realm. And so, with, like I said, with Scott's moving, I lived in California, but I'm sure there's a certain amount of money you could pay me that I would maybe live in Los Angeles, but it would have to be, an extreme amount of money. I mean, I just totally despise LA and San Francisco areas. Like, we lived in Ventura when I was at Scott's, and that's just far enough outside of Los Angeles, and it's right by the beach, which helps that it didn't feel the same. My prospects at the time were like, okay, I can move further into Los Angeles, or I could go live up in the Bay Area. And again, I can't stand either of those two places. So, so the trick tools opportunity was kind of a deal for me where it was like, I could still use my skill set, maybe in a little bit less pressure situation, maybe have a little, bring back some fun to it a little bit. And like I said, it was just kind of a what if situation, so just decided to make it happen. And, my wife, obviously, whether it's been from me spending lots of after hours building the car or, moving to Iowa, my wife has been a major trooper and probably more than I deserve, when it comes to, dealing with my dream chasing. So, we made the move out here, and the move for the job, that part was easy. The move for the personal life and being able to try to submerge into a totally new place. I mean, I was used to it because I grew up when I was born in Florida, moved to Ohio when I was 5, and then moved to California when I was 18. And, so I'm just kind of used to bouncing around. I think I went to like 9 or 10 different grade schools when I was growing up too. So just always finding new people and new, stuff. That stuff's more easy to me.
How did she acclimate to that though? I mean, coming from Ventura, California to sort of middle of nowhere. I mean, there's not a lot of populated.
My plan worked out great, and I brought her to Iowa at the worst possible time. So it was like -12 the first night we were in Iowa, and so it was like, hey, just Anyway, no. So it was like, hey, we left the beach for what? And it was that was pretty good. So I mean, the biggest part of it is just family. I mean, obviously, leaving family behind and only getting, when you're used to seeing them, at least every couple of weeks or whatever, and then all of a sudden it's now maybe twice a year at the most, and that's obviously the hardest part about it. She got a great job right in town and met a lot of new friends at first and everything, and so that really helped ease the transition in and all that. But I think it's still, no matter what, it's tough. Obviously, when you're going to a whole new place and having to just start fresh, really. But
this was before kids too. There, did you have?
Yes, yeah, this is before kids. So in California, and that was part of it too. I mean, once we started looking at Iowa, it was like, holy smokes, we could actually afford to buy something. It's like, my house right now we live in is tiny. I don't live in a big house or anything. And I have an acre of grass, and which is awesome. But, if you took my house and my lot right now and dropped it in Ventura, I mean, it'd be over $1 million easy. And we paid $140,000 for it. So it's
and you're like, the kids can go play outside without like worrying they're playing with needles or messing with bums or
yeah. And I mean, when we left Ventura, my
California, you can't exactly like just let them roam free, dude.
well, we had no yard in California at all. So it would have been here. Go
Making
play out
no
on
friends.
Am I wrong?
No, California's a big state though.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
right.
But
He's talking about LA.
L.A. proper, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, these days, man, COVID changed that place even more. I won't even go into that anyway. But yeah, I mean, I think from the personal life perspective, that's obviously the hardest part about making a big move like that, and that's where when you're trying to hire in talent from hopefully anywhere, because you hope that they just want to come work for you. But man, it's like trying to come move to the middle of a cornfield. It's like. It's not that easy to do, but
I don't know, man. Post COVID, it's maybe that's more enticing than you would think.
It should be, because I've never been happier to live in the middle of nowhere.
I bet
since COVID. Yeah, it's
like what's going on?
Well, my brother,
nothing going on around here.
I just hired my brother actually to he's kind of come on as a guy to help me manage business stuff, and obviously we're selling more product and all that, and so we're getting more into those things. And so, but he was a sheriff's deputy out in California for 17 years, and so. I talked to him about just the stuff he had to deal with, and it's living out in the middle of cornfields, pretty nice.
So how long were you at Trick Tools?
4 years.
4 years, and then you move your wife out there. You're starting a family, and you're like, what'd be cool?
Well,
Let's start a business.
So I my wife started complaining when I first moved to work at Trick Tools, like we didn't really have a shop set up in the warehouse yet or anything like that, and that was part of the process of getting in there. And so I went from building and fabricating stuff every day to nothing. And we would shoot some videos on a product or whatever, but like I wasn't getting that fulfillment. Mm-hmm. And like you talking about, just you find ways to fulfill yourself. So I was just getting the itch. My wife was complaining that I was grinding my teeth at night, which I've never really done.
Those wives be complaining, don't they? You know what I'm saying?
No, she's like, you've been grinding your teeth a lot at night. And I'm like, well, that's weird. But I'd wake up, my jaw would be hurting, and I'm like, I don't know why I'm doing it. And then it kind of just dawned on me. I'm like, I don't think I'm using enough brain power during the day. Like it's got to be what it is. And so, I kind of got this thing in my head, like, oh, we live in the middle of Iowa. Like, it'd be fun to just buy an old Ford truck of some type and, have something as a beater I can drive during the winter and, these kind of things. Well, then there's a junkyard outside of town, and the guy's got just probably a couple thousand old classic cars out there. And
how's stuff hold up out in Iowa?
It's rusty. I mean,
okay.
But
they salt out there, or they use
salt,
sand or beet juice.
Well, they use salt, and then they'll put the brine stuff down on the roads. It's miserable. Yeah. But I'd never walked the junkyard was out there, and I just never walked through it. So it was like end of September, and my wife was gone at a trade show for her work. And so I went and walked around out there just, in heaven, looking at a bunch of rusty old cars out in the junkyard. And so I came around the front, and I walked up, and I see the back end of an old 67 Ford, and I'm like, that's a pretty nice looking truck, and I never was a patina guy, which is funny because now it seems like everything we do is patina. But at the time, all we ever done was show cars. Everything with Scott's was all painted. Everything before them was all painted. And so my mindset, patina was cool at first. This first couple you see, and then it was always like, like another one, just paint it.
Yep.
But I didn't fully understand it until I bought this truck, and you might have to go kind of far.
The enjoyment that you can get out of it, of not worrying about perfection.
That's what I didn't understand. I'd say, keep going. It's a blue.
I know which one.
It's a blue. It's probably down there a little bit further.
But you had it in a carousel here somewhere.
It is. It's probably just down further. Anyway, I bought this truck as a 2-wheel drive, and there it is right there. But it was just a 2-wheel drive truck, and I'm like, man, I've always wanted one of these old Fords. I've always liked that body style. And it looked exactly like it does, except for it's 2-wheel drive, and it was just oxidized like crazy. I mean, it was almost white. It was that oxidized, that color. There's certain Ford colors in those years that if you don't keep them up, they basically turn
chalk.
White.
They go to chalk.
Yeah. Anyway, so, but it had a lot of cool lettering on it on the bed. It said Iowa Realty Company Inc., which are still in business. So I thought, this is bitching. Cool. It's, it's kind of got some cool stuff. And on the door, it said the Farm and Ranch Department, Des Moines. And that's before this truck, when I would see patina that I really liked, it was when it had some kind of old lettering on it. That was truly old, that you were like, this thing's got some history to it.
Anytime it's got a phone number with no area code, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. And, so I just, I asked him what he wanted for it, and, I think it was $2,500, and, it was for a Ford Iowa truck. It was very solid. I mean, obviously rough around the edges, but, so I decided to buy it. And then, at first I'm like, I'm just going to fix this thing up, and this will fix my mental thing of not working on anything. Mm-hmm. So I was like, I'm just going to get it running and we'll start driving it. Well, obviously then I get back to the shop, and then I realized, oh yeah, I guess I didn't pay attention hard enough to the 1.5 inch deep of mice crap on the floor and, stuff like that. So, it was pretty rough as far as cleaning it out, but it was all definitely usable and savable. And then I was like, man, I've always wanted a highboy. So I'm like, I wonder how hard it is to convert this thing. And so I just, figured that out and converted it 4x4. Next thing you know, I went through the motor myself and, didn't do anything full, crazy with the motor, just kept it stock and 352. And then decided this would be cool with some vintage air in it. And I should probably rewire it with American Auto Wire. And then, Dakota Digital Gauges, like,
Snowballed.
It's snowballed, of course, like no project ever. Just went through it, had the paint polished up on it, just to bring the blue back out in it. Then I put sweet patina all over it. And then, it was purely just to fill this void in my mind of, working on something. And, it took me about 2 years to finish it, but that was just nights and weekends. Again, another one of these projects that my wife was very gracious on, of me spending extra time and all that. But, and then, so I sold the truck. It went on Bring a Trailer in, I guess it was October of 21. And
do you have any idea what was going on? What was going to happen?
I was hoping it would maybe get to like 55 or 60. And that was just on a total, like, in my head, that was kind of a pipe dream.
That was the home run number.
That was like the home run number. And then by the morning of the auction, or that it was going to end, the one of the bidders called me, and he's actually the guy that we ended up building the orange patina truck for. He called me that morning because I'd talked to him a couple times previous, and he's like, he goes, are you ready for? That's the first thing he said was, "Are you ready for me to blow this thing up?" And I'm like, that only means something if somebody else wants to blow it up too, Yep. So, I was like, yeah, that'd be cool, obviously. And, he goes, well, I promise you this, if I don't win that truck, somebody else is going to pay a lot of money. And I'm like, fair enough, but you still don't know what that means fully. And, but yeah, that morning it was already at like 50 something. And I'm like, and he hadn't even bid yet. So I'm like, okay. So then obviously the numbers start going up, and yeah, there's very few times in my life that I've actually been speechless. And when that thing, when the hammer dropped at 130, I would just totally, like,
it's a game.
Is your wife following along at the same time too?
Yeah. Oh yeah. So we ended up talking on the phone real briefly, like right as it was ending, because I'm like, I feel like we should just be on the phone for this. And so backstory to even that is that I had actually sold the truck once and then bought it back. I won't go into that side of the story, but I bought it back, and then, but the whole reason I bought it back was that I also had this, something in my head was telling me, like, you really should just put this thing on Bring a Trailer. And I basically tripled my money. So that was a pretty good intuition there. So, it definitely did way more. It helped me expedite opening the shop now. And then also the guy that called me and asked me if he, wanted me to blow it up or whatever. He ended up not winning. He got, he was first loser, and so he was pretty bummed out. And I said, hey,
the guy that did win it did pay a lot of money for the truck. He was right.
Exactly. Well, that's what he said when we talked afterwards. He goes, well, I told you if I wasn't going to win, somebody else is going to pay a lot of money. But it was just, he would bid 1,000, the other guy bid 5,000. He bid 1,000, the other guy bid 5,000. It was just like, he's like, I can tell the guy just wants me to go away. And so anyway, it went off, and again, Wade, just expedited any plans that I had because I just didn't anticipate having, that kind of cash to be able to do anything with. And I'd mentioned to him, hey, I know you're bummed out about missing on the truck, but if you feel like building something, I'm getting ready to open my shop, and it's, that's kind of why I sold the truck, was like as a sacrifice to like hopefully get this thing going. So I did that. But yeah, the project with that thing was really to fill that void of working on something. And then also we got the shop going at Trick Tools, which then I started working on the car a little bit more. We did some things on the car at the shop at Trick Tools. And so that's really what, started that. And then obviously, selling that thing for what I did, I just got known as the guy to take Ford trucks to, which it's fine with me because I like them, but
it's a badass truck.
It is.
It's tough looking. It looks to me like if you were to Google toxic masculinity and like Wikipedia had a photo example.
Yeah, there it is.
I think that's what like liberals would think of as that is the
There it is.
definition. Short of missing a gun rack in the back window.
Right.
Otherwise,
Well,
bad ass.
stop me when I'm off base, right? So you sell the truck, that expedites starting the business, right? And you're like, this is awesome. I had so much fun building this truck. It's a different level of creativity, of restoring some things and doing some history and doing stuff. It's a great experience with the customer, with the guy that purchased the truck, and I could do more of these. This is a great business model, right? And I'm gonna have so much fun doing it, right? Because I enjoyed doing it on this truck. And then it's like, well, I mean, I probably need a little bit of help, so I'm gonna employ and all this, but we're gonna have so much fun building these trucks. And then fast forward to now, it's a full blown business, and like, it's just like any other car build business.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's I would say, and
you're not working on the vehicles at all anymore because you're running the business.
Yeah. No, and going back to the, I guess learning and growing and bringing on new skill sets. I kind of take on the running the business now as a new skill set, and so I kind of try to hone in on, how I can improve, what ways I can get better, just even from running the business standpoint. So is running the business quite as fun as maybe, getting to actually put these things together full time? That'd be a tough distinction to make, between picking one or the other. I mean, I love running the business side of it because I get to treat people the way I want to treat people. I get to, actually get the firsthand interaction with customers when we're talking about builds and why we're going to do what we're going to do. And then also helping guide them into understanding what they even want,
right.
And that sort of thing. And so I really enjoy that side of it. It goes going back to making people's dreams come true. Like that's kind of a aspect of me that I've really taken enjoyment out of is getting to deal with the customers and turn what, little ideas they may have in their mind. And some of them have all the ideas. I mean, I got one customer who, we actually, the same junkyard I bought that truck out of, that guy somehow scored a super, super low mileage, very, very nice rust-free condition, 73 F100. And I was like, hey, you should check this truck out. It's like super nice Survivor. And he's like, yeah, let's do it. I want it. And so he bought it, and we're already doing a 69 crew cab for him, but he's the kind of guy where he just takes on the part side of it. So here's what I want to do, and I'm going to get this part from there. And next thing I know, there's emails and messages. Hey, I'm doing this. Here's a quote from this place, and he's just all over it. And that's cool because I like customers that want to be involved.
That helps.
Yeah, and it, obviously from the parts standpoint, then I don't have to do all that stuff, which is great. Too. But I appreciate the different levels of input that the customers do want, because some basically just want to be like, here's,
build it, call me when you're done.
Here's in a nutshell, just let me know when it's done, and then the other ones are like, want to be super involved. I mean, the one two-wheel drive that we're building, the customer stops by every week, and it's always like, hey, what do you think about this? And, oh, I like that. Maybe we could do this also. And, it's a constant building process on what we're doing, that way. And so, like I said, that every customer is different. So kind of honing in on how to deal with the different customers and deal with the different challenges that they all present,
right.
Whatever it is kind of again, goes back to the skill set side of it, where I try to, at this point, hone in on that side and really, make myself better. And I try to be, it's funny, actually, when I was on my way up here, I don't get all the time to listen to every podcast, but I was listening to, you had Fab Guy Ryan on here and Hunter, and just listening to them talk about, just the, sorry, my mind is trying to think where I was going with that. But I guess dealing with customers and each different build, and how to make what they want, make them help them understand what they want and why, and what choices are maybe bad, what choices are good. But at the end of the day, when the vehicle's done, it's something that both you and them can stand back and look at and be proud of, no matter how different it is from everything else you got in the shop. I mean, that Aston that they just built, I mean, I haven't seen it in person, but when they first put out pictures of that thing, I was just like, oh my gosh, like,
yeah,
like I just feel like that's such a different, I mean, I look at that and then I look at the Astons and I'm just like that, you know, it's just a whole different ball game, you know. And
to be honest with you though, I think the chick that's sitting shotgun in that with you, she's probably a little more wild, a little more fun, probably a little sexier than the one that's riding shotgun with you in that Aston. No disrespect to the Aston.
I don't know. My wife only cared that it had air conditioning, so that's
yeah.
What?
I agree. I'm just gonna agree with you.
Where were you going to go?
I'm not going to go anywhere.
You sure?
No, I'm 100% sure. I should just agree with you.
Okay.
You mentioned investing, or the new creative aspect is learning the business and running the business side. Funny, scary timing, completely unplanned. However, just like we were going to do over the next few podcasts, we have to talk about an opportunity for people to invest in themselves and get better at business from your old boss, Roger at Ironworks. Business development class coming up February 20th through 21st at Mahomet, Illinois at BBT. Let's face it, if you're going to do one, it's way cooler to go to Troy's shop than Bakersfield. Who wants to go to Bakersfield? Right?
every time.
The Mexican
Mahomet,
food, the Mexican food's probably better in Bakersfield, I would have to assume.
Every time I go through there, I always stop at Troy's place. It's right on 74 on the way to Columbus or the way to Ohio to visit family or whatever, and I always stop by there.
It's coming up.
They sold out on that one?
No, as of this morning, no. Because I told them we're not going to talk about it if it's sold out. It's a waste of fucking airspace. But no, as of right now, go to ironworkspeedandcustom.com. That's custom with a K. Right there at the top, you got business development class. Everybody that we have talked to in various aspects of business has gotten a tremendous amount out of it. And I think it's a really good thing that Troy and Roger are doing. We were talking the other day about, we talked last time about the, cost and, everything. You got to invest in yourself, just like a good set of tools. It's going to cost some money. A good business class is going to cost some money. There's something we were talking. It's interesting too that regardless of the quality of the information that is in there, if you pay for it, you're going to retain it and treat it with a little bit different of respect versus getting a free pamphlet and reading through it and be like, if you're giving it away for free, I mean, how good of advice this could be. Sure. So it does. There's something to be said for that. Of like, and let's face it. I mean, they do lunches. They're flying across country. They're doing a thing. Yeah. It's a lot of experience. You got to pay for what you're going to get.
Absolutely.
I do think that it's a great thing that they're doing. Roger's going to come back out here soon and do another podcast and talk about some things. I think that we're going to probably be able to take the last couple of podcasts he's done and go ahead and just condense everything from the business class. This is great for a while, but until we put out our digital oil and whiskey version of Roger's business class,
you think we can monetize?
I think we can monetize it. Like, hey, you know what? Go out there, just download the
pay-per-view version. Okay, we'll talk behind the scenes.
I remembered what I was going to say about Fab Guy Ryan, by the way, and my mind just went blank. But there was a part in there he was talking about, being kind of a good self-evaluator, or being able to critique your, look at your own self and really see what you're doing well or what whatever that way. And that, just hearing him talk about that, I was like, man, that's how I view everything that I'm doing, and I think that's where, whether it's running the business or building something or whatever, like, whether it's picking up a piece of metal trying to learn something new, or whether it's dealing with a customer or whatever it is, like being able to look at myself and see how I can improve, like, oh, this was fine this time, but how can next time be even better? And that's from a customer experience standpoint, or, whether it's something on a vehicle, whatever it is. And so that was my whole point with them.
Well, you've definitely came on strong. And it's funny how when the thing that kind of, a lot of times no plan, but the thing that kind of puts you on the map and gets the next build, it's like the similarities. Like you've done a lot of Ford trucks, you know, and just because you did a Ford truck and now you've done.
My shop has all Ford trucks in it except for a 76 Mercedes 450 SEL.
That's an interesting topic because I'm really curious about that. If you're deciding to go off, you have thoughts of doing this on your own, starting your own shop. Did you ever sit down, like before that Ford truck was finished, you said you bought it as just sort of a hobby. Did you ever sit down and just, I mean, not that it had to be super structured, but did you formulate a plan that, like, I think a viable business path would be to get a facility. Seems like Ford trucks are pretty popular. Not a lot of 4x4, so I could convert them, could grow that into 4x4 bolt-on upgrade components. They don't stop good, so maybe we spawn off of that and start brake kits, or did it just happen? Like, was it the truck? I mean, you built a truck, it was a cool truck, it sold, all of a sudden you saw the opportunity, and then you jumped on the opportunity?
And so, yeah, I mean, obviously I had built the truck, that truck, and even before it sold, I'd met another local guy that, you know, he had some Ford trucks, and we just met up as fellow Ford truck fans and all that. Well, then, you know, he started talking about like, hey, what'd you think about building me a crew cab at some point? You know, and I'm like, I don't even have a shop, so I don't know how that's going to happen. Yep. You know, but then, you know, we kept talking and whatever. And then he ended up, hey, I found a crew cab I'm going to buy. It's over in Omaha, you know, and I rode with him. We got it. And then that turns out to be a truck that we are working on currently to hopefully debut at SEMA this next year. And it's going to be pretty wild. It's that one right there. And it was, I mean, these trucks are pretty rare. From 67 to 72, they only made about 20,000 crew cabs. So if you take 60 plus whatever years of time, most of those trucks were used for hard work. So they got really beat up. Most of them ended up, you know, a lot of them ended up junkyards and rotted out, whatever it may be. So if you look at how many are actually left, you know, the numbers of crew cabs are, I mean, you see them, but they're just
very few. Not
that plentiful. And so, you know, he had found that truck, and it was ordered from the factory, and they call it Swiss Aqua, which is like an aqua blue color. And then it was also ordered with, Ford calls it the flare side bed, but step side for all the Chevy guys. But it was enough unique combination on the truck that we really decided we wanted to, you know, make it into something that was unique for what it already had. Also, you know, doing more. So he had already asked me about, you know, maybe building the truck, and I didn't have the shop yet and everything. And then selling my truck on Marine Trailer, and then the other customer, about a month after the auction, we kind of talked about it real briefly, and I said, hey, you know, I'm going to start a shop, whatever it was. And I figured he's probably just bummed out on the truck, and he's going to move on to something else he can buy, you know, whatever. And then he started, all of a sudden I get a random text, and it's like, hey, check out this truck. And I was like, okay. So now he's thinking about it, you know, and wanting to do something. And, you know, and then he, you know, followed through, he actually bought a red crew cab. I've got a picture on it somewhere. And then he ended up buying this other flare side bed, orange single cab highboy that, he bought it off of Bring a Trailer. And then he's like, I want to do this one first. And, so that, crazy enough, that truck was an old fire truck from Ventura, California.
No, that's wild.
It still says it on the door, the Ventura City Fire Department. So I didn't even know that until it actually landed at the shop. You know, read what's on the door, and I was like, man, that's kind of just crazy. And then I looked at Ford has they call them the Marty reports. It gives you all the factory information, God,
that's a cool logo.
Yeah, so the Easy Care was his company. That's his company that he owns. And but anyway, the Marty report said it was sold new from the R.E. Barber Ford out of Ventura. Well, I used to drive by that like every day on my way to work at Scott's.
That's wild.
You know, so just it kind of had this extra connection. I'm like, this is crazy. Like, you know, but it was just a really cool Survivor. I mean, rust free. You know, I think I probably had 5 or 6 hours in rust repair on it, which obviously is nothing. You know, so you know, we went through the whole truck, left all the outside. You know, left all the paint on the inside of the cab because it was all in good enough shape, and you know, just showed a little bit of wear, but just the history that the truck showed. Like, that's the part that when the truck deserves it, like that one, in my opinion, like I kind of dork out on the history and the kind of the way it is a little bit. So somebody had changed out the mirrors to something else. So we found those are the mirrors that the truck originally would have had. And so we found an NOS set, put them on there, just stuff like that, you know, just to kind of return the truck back to normal. So that was his driveway.
That's
mountain.
decent view.
Yeah, you think?
You know, I went. So
Is that John Dutton's driveway? Jesus,
yeah, I know. Trust me, I went out there to pick that thing up back in
that's badass.
beginning of May. I picked it up from his place because I was going to take it to the Grand National F100 show and whatever. And I pull into his driveway, and that mountain's in the background. And I'm like, this is. And I'd seen pictures already before, but I'm like, this is ridiculous.
Where
like,
is this?
Durango, Colorado. So it's very southeast or southwest corner of Colorado.
That's
but
cool.
just beautiful. But I mean, that truck is right at home there. I mean, it looks like it was made for that.
Yeah.
But so that was part of the way we built the truck. He's like, I'm up in the mountains. If I want to leave here, I got to go over a mountain pass or down or whatever. So elevation changes. He's like, I don't want to have to mess with carburetor and blah blah blah.
Sure.
All that stuff. So he's like, let's put something, fuel injected in there. So the other photo there, the engine bay, you can see
Coyote
that.
or Godzilla?
The top one. Yeah. It's a Gen 2 Coyote. Okay. And then I actually cut down a bump side hood and made that little engine cover. So it still has the same center body lines as a bump side hood and things like that. It was just a way to kind of spice it up a little bit, whatever that way. But from a drivability standpoint, so then that truck there was the very first truck that I put a disc brake kit on the front. And so, I don't know how, or the last time you guys have purchased like an OEM part from a parts store to replace something like a brake caliper on a
Been a long time on a classic car.
So it's, what you can buy nowadays for classic cars is just junk. I bought, and even just here recently, I replaced, because we're doing all these brake kits, which I'll get more into, but, I had bought a 2-wheel drive F250, and it had factory discs on the front, and I just wanted to. And the truck didn't run and drive. We made it run and drive, so I rebuilt the whole brake system all stock. Because what we want to do is stock stop tests to get distance and how it stops, all that stuff, and then we're going to put our new stuff on it, and then do the same thing. So I bought 2 brand new brake calipers from the same brand from the parts store, and one shows up and it's just bare cast steel. The other one, which is just the right left part number difference, but same brand, same box, everything. That one is zinc plated. But it's just that kind of thing. It's like the what you can get for the factory parts of the parts store is just crap. And there's nothing else available for these 3/4 ton trucks, especially the 4-wheel drives. But even more, even the 2-wheel drives, there's just nothing for brake upgrades, especially if a guy's got drum brakes. So that thing just being all drum brake, being an old highboy, so they didn't even have disc brakes on the highboy, Fords until 76. And so we put a 76 axle in the front, but I buy like calipers, and I'm like, I don't think I can trust these things as far as I can throw them. Like they just, there's just the quality aspect of it, and you even have it too, where I bought, those 2 calipers I was just talking about. Like I bought one, I bolted one side on, it fit fine. I bolted the other side on, and it was like rubbing the rotor hat, and stuff. And I'm like, I just, so there's just challenges to the factory part. Yep. So I built the first disc brake kit for that truck. To replace the factory disc, calipers and stuff that were on it. And so we used a Wilwood caliper and put it over a factory rotor, because most guys with the Ford trucks like to run 16-inch steel wheels just like they had from the factory, that sort of thing. And so the brake thing started with that truck, and then it was like, well, if we can do this front kit, we can do a rear kit, because all these Dana 60s in the rear are basically the same, for a lot of these years. So we developed a rear kit. Our first rear kit went on the green truck. And then since then, it was kind of, I started selling the first year with that very first kit that it fit 76 to 79 Dana 44 and Dana 60 axles. And that kit I sold like 12 of the first year I was selling them, which for very limited advertising and whatever, I was like, hey, 12 kits, this is cool, But then we added the rear kit, and then I've since added, so the 75 and basically Ford's very first factory 4x4 was in 1959, and those used it. They called it the closed knuckle front end, where it had a wiper. It was kind of a big ball end on the axle, and it had a wiper seal and all that stuff. And they actually had lubricant that was inside of there. But those trucks never had disc brakes. It was never an option. So since then, since we did the rear kit, then we've developed a bolt-on disc brake conversion for all the closed knuckle axles, so it fits 59 to 70, 75 closed knuckle axles, which there's a small closed knuckle and there's a large closed knuckle, and it fits both. But we're making our own spindle for that kit, so it replaces the factory spindle, and that allowed us to use a different wheel hub that, you know, then achieves what we're trying to do with the discs and everything. But it still fits a 16-inch wheel, uses a 6-piston Wilwood caliper in the front. You know, so then from there, again, the phone rings all the time. Do you guys make a kit for a 2-wheel drive? I got one that's drums. I need to convert it. And it's like, I'll add that to the list. You know, it's like, you know, we get more phone calls. And so now we basically have all 2-wheel drive and 4-wheel drive covered from, I still need to test some of the late 50s 2-wheel drive stuff. But I know back to like 61. Basically all the 2-wheel drive for sure back to 61. I know we fit, I have kits that fit those. But again, you start, obviously, when you start dealing with parts, you start finding all these little factory nuance differences. Like, oh, if it had this GVW, it used this model, this, and this GVW
That's
was
the
this.
stuff you usually find out the hard way.
Oh, yes.
After you sell the guy the kit.
Yes, exactly.
And then he's like,
Ooh, so is it 63 and a half?
Yeah. And there's definitely those things. I mean, even on, you know, I was buying wheel bearings for that orange Highboy, and in 69 and a half, Dana changed they changed something on the rear end where it uses a different outer wheel bearing, and it uses a different wheel seal. And it's just like, well, I just need it for a 69. Well, which one do you have? Do you have the early one, or do you have the?
You can't forget about the Canadian trucks and the Friday trucks too. That's
Like, I've never seen one like that ever.
That's come up before.
Yeah.
In the shop.
Oh, yeah.
Complete nonsense, but like guys arguing over. I think this one's Canadian.
Oh yeah,
It's not
Friday
Canadian.
for sure.
It's the wrong part.
And even the way it's funny when I mean, all the modern cars are so precise because everything's all, you know, machine built, you know, essentially, you know, that if you don't deal with old cars every day, you kind of forget and you take for granted how nice basically all new cars are as far as fit and finish.
Oh yeah.
And then, you know, you look at these trucks and it's just like, oh, these are both single cabs, but wow, look at the way this one's welded right here, and look at the way this panel fits.
You,
and
can,
it's like,
you can measure tolerances with a tape measure instead of a micrometer.
Yeah, you can.
The square bodies is the same way, dude.
Oh,
I mean, body panels are so bad.
Yeah.
The crew cabs, like the cab corners roll out on some, and like that body line right where like the belt line, some are pointing this way, some are pointing this way. They're tough to make look presentable.
Well, so
But they held together too. So they didn't hold tolerances, but they held together. You got one now today that's absolutely great tolerances, and then it won't last 30,000 miles without falling a fucking apart.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
But look at door gaps. The rockers are matching the same to the left or right.
Well, and you know, like these crew cab trucks. I mean, those were Ford started building them in house a little bit in like 1965, but in 67, when they went to the bump side body style, they started building all of them in house. But it's still, all they did was take a single cab, and they would literally essentially assemble a single cab, and then as it went through the line, it was like, oh, this one's designated to be a crew, and it would split off, and they'd literally just cut it.
Really?
And lengthen it out.
But they look that way. I mean, it's like an extra door on the back that doesn't really jive with the front door.
It is a front door that they cut down. It is not. It was not its own stamping at all. Like it's when you look at the structure, the way the structure is made. I mean, they literally cut the front of the door off and slapped a piece on there, and the pillars. The only couple of panels in a crew cab that are independent of a crew cab is the B pillar, the flat floor section in the back, right under the seat, and then the roof panel. But everything else is
just think about that though. That Ford in 67, right, for several years, but they're doing a fairly large amount of crew cabs in the overall scheme of things, right?
For back then, yeah.
For back then, right? Fairly large amount, and they're like, no, if I could just cut it off, use the thing. In 60, Pontiac, for example, on a Catalina, right, 61, that's a fairly low volume vehicle for that 1 year, and they were like, nope. All new body panels. I want new doors. I want new fenders. I want new quarters. I want all new trim, all new bumpers, all new grill.
They had different views on the truck manufacturing and the car manufacturing. I mean, trucks were obviously utility vehicles.
Yeah. Well, this is it. I mean, they only made 20,000 over 6 production years, so it's like, but now, I mean, good luck finding a single cab. If you're going to go to the Ford dealership and buy a single cab, they might have two,
right.
but they're going to have 400, crew cabs. But it's just, that's how the mindset has changed on them. But yeah, I mean, it's, they were so utilitarian. And back then, people were like, a 4-door truck? What the heck do you want that for? Like,
yeah, it's not like you were throwing your buddies in it and going out like snowboarding for the weekend. You were
There was
going
no
to work.
Starbucks.
well, and even the red one that my customer bought that we have at the shop, and there's a picture on there. It's rough. I mean, I have never driven a classic vehicle that still ran in original condition. That's that one right there. That's the start of that video. But that truck does not want to move like more than any other old vehicle I've ever driven. Like when you start it up, I mean, it kind of labors to start, like the starter's worn out, and then you go to move it, and it's like you hit the gas and it goes, but as soon as you let off the gas, it's like the brakes are on already, even though they're not. Like the truck just, and it just, it's just
so much stiction and all the moving
So that
parts.
truck belonged to a logging company. So when it came to us, it had a big old winch on the front of it. Like they just literally stretched the front bump. The front bumper was like 2-3 feet out in front of the truck. It was just ridiculous looking, but it had a big old winch in there. And like, I mean, that truck was used and abused as a logging truck. And, like miraculously, the cab is basically rust free and actually in really nice shape. And that truck is actually one of 769 factory 4x4s made in 1970. So they just were rare. They were just rare trucks.
Very rare.
Where did this truck come about? This thing was sweet.
So that truck belongs to a customer named Chris. And do you guys know Boris?
Yeah.
It's Boris's brother-in-law. He bought the truck off me and wanted to, he was buying the truck, and he's like, hey, I might just have you build it. Okay, cool. So,
Boris have a chassis in stock for it?
Yeah. So Boris had a chassis, and then, it's the stuff. So they, he's like, well, Boris, the chassis is made set up for an LS motor. And I'm like, we're not running an LS motor. So we,
That's easy to change.
Yeah, we put a Gen 3 Coyote in it and all that, but it's an original patina truck.
Good looking truck.
I say original patina. The entire driver's side of that thing has been replaced at some point. Like the fender, door, and bedside were like replacement Ford parts. And they had been repainted, but like obviously way back in the day, because the patina still matches everything.
Did the patina, was it back in the day, or did Boris fluff that all in?
No, it's original. It's original. I mean, there's a few parts that actually we touched up. I had to do some fender patching, and the driver's side rear corner of it, basically under the gas fill and all that had been smoked when they replaced all those other panels, and there was a bunch of Bondo on it stuff. So we fixed it in metal, and then I kind of did some patina matching on it. But that thing, so that's the first time I've been able to use one of your guys' chassis, which, it's, that thing, obviously sits so low. So we built the custom bed floor, for the 345 rear tires. And, that truck was really the first opportunity for me as a shop, with my own business to highlight some of the metalworking capabilities we have. Because, these 4x4s, aside from rust repair, there's nothing custom there, unless we decide to do something. But that truck really allowed us to highlight, you can see some of it bare metal.
And I mean, the problem with trucks too is none of them have package trays. So the package tray is notoriously where you do all your metal work, right? Like that's.
But yeah, so we kept the tubs kind of factory shape as far as like the little kind of half octagon shape there, and whatever that way, and then just obviously the step up over, and built the whole bed floor and everything for it, tunnel, transmission, the whole thing, and then wheel tubs up front, or the inner fenders. Like I said, that was kind of the first opportunity to really show off what we're capable of. I mean, I've got part of when I opened the shop, I had mandatory tool items. It was like, I'm not opening a shop if I don't have an Echold craft former.
Gotta have
KF170. I mean, I've got a 36-inch cast Proline hammer.
Did you tactfully procure these pieces of equipment while you were still?
Well,
there?
so
I'm sure you got a good discount.
Well,
Trick tools.
First of all, I didn't ask for any discount, but he did. He was gracious
There's
enough
always
to.
the friends and family.
He was gracious enough to give me a little discount on there, which I was very thankful for. But yeah, I made up a list of what stuff I had to have and all that. I had already bought one chassis table. Well, some people wouldn't use that as chassis table because it's only 10 feet long, but my car is only 12 feet long and it fit on it perfectly. So I had already bought one of those really nice Sigmund tables. And then they had kind of a scratch and dent one that they had there. So I bought a second one because I knew that we would end up working on these 4-wheel drives or, these trucks and end up doing conversions and, whatever. And so, bought a second one of those tables, and I have a 20-foot long table that we can build, these truck frames on and all that, which came in handy with that 71 F350 crew cab because that thing with the bumpers on is 20 feet 6 inches long. Ooh. And it's a big old truck. But so we converted that chassis to 4x4. But yeah, that 67 there, dude, I was thrashing so hard to get that thing to Triple Crown. And my wife had my son on August 26th, and it obviously was right before Triple Crown. So me, the guys are at the shop trying to work on the truck, and we were thrashing. And then a week after, I get back in the shop, and we ended up pulling an all-nighter trying to even just get the truck done to get it down to Triple Crown. So we ended up missing the first day, but I'm like, well, Chris is down there, all that. I want him to be able to see the truck, and so I sent my brother down with the truck, and then we parked in your guys' booth there at the show. But now we brought the truck back, a lot of stuff finished out on it. I've got, I think I've got about 850 miles on it or so now.
Yeah.
But dude, that thing it is such a good driving truck. Like everywhere I have taken it, whether it's been, I did take it to a couple of local, cruising shows and whatever. And everybody's like, they're like, the truck's cool, I just don't like them airbags. And I'm like, it's not on airbags. It's on coilovers. They're like, wait, what? They're like, you got to bottom out on everything. I'm like, I've driven the wheels off this thing. I haven't hit one thing with it, Yeah. I mean, obviously you don't want to go jumping curbs, but it's
no different than driving a sports car. Just that's like, pay attention.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I told him, I'm like, you got to drive it like you would like a Corvette or something, like, to think about it in that mindset. But yeah, I mean, when the front frame ride height is 4 inches off the ground, it's dumped. But I mean, you don't, like I said, I haven't rubbed it on anything. And but that thing, we were getting some dyno tuning done on it, which I use. Obviously, I don't have a dyno, but I use Palm Beach Dyno. If you're familiar with them, they're out of Florida, but they do all the
remote logging
stuff. So basically, we have the HP tuner stuff, and we do all the data logging and whatever for them. We send it back and forth, and they send files. And so, just the other week, before all the snow started flying, I was out with it, and I was supposed to get a wide open throttle log in 4th gear, and they wanted it from like 3,500 RPM to 55. Well, that'll take you from about 55 miles an hour to 110 in not a whole lot of time. Yeah. And but the one thing I was actually super impressed about the truck and the chassis was just how planted, straight, and under control that felt. Like, I mean, I've been fast in other cars, but that thing just went straight, like without. I didn't feel any bit like it was going to steer weird, nothing. Like it just went, and I was like, wow, this is, I wasn't expecting it to feel so planted, being that the truck is so light,
Yeah, that's awesome.
Being a short bed, and whatever, but it just, I was super, super impressed with the drivability on it. But I drove it. I drove it to Des Moines and back. I had to go to the drive shaft shop for another car. And, so I took it up there, and, pull over in a gas station, just to top it off, and SUV pulls up, and this little old lady, I mean, at minimum, probably 80. And she pulls up in her little SUV. That's a nice truck you've got there. And I was like, well, thank you. And I wasn't expecting it, right. from that audience, but she's like, what year is that? I said, it's a 67. That was a good year. She's like, you have a nice day, and I'm just, going back to the truck thing though. It's like, I wasn't expecting that at all.
Right.
And it's not that obviously they can't appreciate it, but just obviously it being so slammed to the ground with the big wheels and all that kind of stuff. But it's still the patina thing, I think maybe struck a chord a little bit or something. And,
that's cool.
But just like I said, cruising back and forth from Des Moines, I mean, just going on just a normal drive, like 65, 70 down the highway, just pure enjoyment, just easy ride.
Sweet.
That's the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Got a good one. Got a Monday chassis. got one of the good chassis.
Or maybe a Tuesday. But I think, and part of that is in general too, because I'm so used to driving these damn leaf spring highboys that when we do what we do with them, they drive as good as they possibly can. But
it's a different
it's
animal.
nowhere near the modern technology and suspension, that way. So
yeah, to get those trucks, I mean, to get them dialed in, the ride quality is always gonna be rough, but you can make one of those. I'm sure with all the stuff that you're putting on them, they're stopping good, they're steering good, they're going on the road good.
Yeah,
it's just probably not gonna soak up everything like a lowered IFS is. It's just the nature of the beast.
100%. And that's what with the leaf spring trucks. I mean, first thing we do is 100% brand new leaf springs. I don't mess around with re-arch and spring. I mean, some people re-arch springs and all that. It's like you're still messing with 60 whatever year old metal. Right. I'm sure the metallurgy side of it, they could probably explain it, in a way that it's probably changed over, 60 plus years of
probably
doing this down the road, So, we go to new springs.
Best way to say it is just, it's old as shit. Like, so.
I mean, yeah, seriously. So, new springs, new bushings, and all that. And then we put Fox shocks on the highboys, and all that. And then, it really helps to, in the leaf spring trucks, especially the front ends, you hit a bump and the spring just wants to do this for like a few seconds afterwards. Well, putting the nice shocks on there settles it down quicker. Yeah, it settles it down quicker, which to me is a really important aspect of that, because when you do hit a bump, it's one thing to feel it, it's another thing to hit it and then be like
keep feeling it
afterwards.
The
so
residual
when it does settle down,
right.
it's
dampens
it's
it
really
nicely.
that way. With the highboys though, I mean I always tell people like the 4 100% necessary upgrades if you want to at least enjoy the drive is better brakes, power steering. So any true highboy, well, the 73 to 77 highboys had a power assist steering, so they used a ram on the axle like a tractor. So it was like this weird servo deal and like a bunch of lines everywhere. Anyway, but that was always kind of a crap system anyway. But true power steering on a highboy. Better brakes, and then usually air conditioning. Those are the 3 mandatory things. Like if you want a more enjoyable drive, like have better brakes, better steering, and air conditioning, and you can pretty much enjoy a highboy. But the highboy stuff, I mean, I was talking with one of you guys earlier that the funny thing in the Ford world is that, like, I mean, I guess some of it depends on what part of the country you're from, but in general, highboys in the Ford world are kind of like the top tier truck. Like,
help me understand the terminology. Where did highboy come from? Is it strictly because the truck?
It's a slang. It's a slang term. I mean, my truck that I built, I converted it to 4x4, but I used factory Ford parts. Like, that thing is not lifted. It's just on stock style suspension.
Okay.
And same thing with like the green truck that we did last year, the orange truck that we did. That's all stock style suspension. So the trucks just sit super high off the ground, and it's because the leaf springs are literally mounted underneath the frame rail, and then you have the axle underneath that, and then so everything's just so tall by the time you get up there. So a true definition of a highboy is a divorced transfer case truck, with leaf springs. This is essentially what it is. But the highboy term is just a slang term.
Got it.
It was purely a slang thing. It wasn't ever a factory terminology, but that's just what everybody knows them as. That way. So, I mean, like I said, we rebuild them in a way where, I mean, like I said, with whether my customer who drove that green one to California or, like I said, this orange truck, I would have totally, I mean, you could ask me to drive it anywhere and I would, because the way that we make them drive is so different than factory, even though they're still on leaf springs, and that's where I take pride in that aspect of like really dialing them in. Like if you really want the highboy, but you want to enjoy it, like this is what you need.
And is that going Coyote upgrade? Does that get made into like a 10R80 Atlas T case?
Yeah.
What's on the back?
The Coyote, so the orange truck has that's a Gen 2 Coyote with 6R80. And then it still has the divorced, it's an NP205, which they're real similar, I guess, like to Atlases or whatever, but it's a factory Ford transfer case. Really the NP205s were like the dent side years, like 70s transfer cases, but they're still a nice, we rebuild them, and we actually, for the Godzilla powered trucks, we custom build them with beefier input and output shafts and things like that to, obviously make them hold up to the power, because the old 360s were about a whopping 200 horse, and whatever. So, when you're going to a Godzilla and, doubling horsepower and torque, and, we just like to beef them up that way. But so we make an engine mount kit actually we're working on a Coyote version that will bolt a Coyote into a highboy, but the Godzillas are it's kind of the new up and coming engine that we wanted to get the mount kit done to where people could just buy our mount kit and bolt a Godzilla right into a highboy, which, it works out great. We line it right up with the transfer case like it's supposed to. You don't have to cut the frame. You don't have to cut the body. Like it, it fits right in there. Even with the 10R140, which is a freaking Titanic sized transmission. If you haven't ever messed with one, they're like,
haven't messed with one of those.
I'm pretty sure, I think the transmission, like bell housing, the tail shaft's like 40 inches or something. I mean, it's just gigantic. But they're also big, around too. But it's, it's a Super Duty transmission. So, the green truck, we refer to it as the Green Monster, the one we finished last year. I mean, he said like, it'd be cool to, if I wanted to, he's got a nice wooden boat that he keeps out on Lake Tahoe. But he's like, if I ever want to tow it, somewhere, it'd be nice to be able to, hook up and tow. And so we were like, the 10R140. I mean, if you buy the Ford Performance, Godzilla with the automatic transmission, it comes with the Super Duty trans. So it was like, well, let's make this thing be able to do truck stuff. I mean, that was I do know guys that do swap in the 10R80s because it's a less rotating mass. They wind up a little faster, whatever. But I'm like, you're in a 5,000 pound 4-wheel drive, classic 4x4. So to me, having the motor wind up quick and all that kind of stuff, it's not really that big a deal. Right? Yeah, to me it is. But the drivability in those Godzillas is phenomenal. I mean,
I don't have any experience with them. We've set up a lot of chassis for them. We're getting ready to do a Mustang, 71 Mustang spec chassis going underneath. That'll be the first Godzilla 10R80 that we've done. So sort of looking forward to that.
Yeah, I've got 3 of the trucks in the shop right now have Godzillas going into them. And then we'll have a 4th one going in also next year. It's crazy because it's 445 cubic inches, I think, from the factory. And it's still push rod. So the Coyotes, the cylinder heads are so freaking huge, because of the dual overhead cam and all the stuff. But the Godzilla is actually about 6 inches narrower than a Coyote.
I think the Coyote, George Poteet said it best.
Oh, here we go. I agree with you, but here we go.
When George said, "Josh, fuck a Coyote,"
he did. He said, "Fuck a Coyote." I know people make good power with them. They can sound good and stuff. I just don't get them. It's just
in trucks. I can see it. I don't like the way they perform, like in a muscle car. I don't like the power band's weird. The torque's weird.
Well, you got to get into the RPM.
They just ain't got. But every time you get into the RPM, you got to shift. Yep. Like right when it's about time to do something, either the trans shifts or you got to shift.
They're great. Sure, like I've driven Broncos with them. It's a great, running, performing, reliable motor. Yeah. I've driven them supercharged, built, NA, you name it. I just don't love them in
all bark, no bite. All bark, no bite.
I mean, it's like I said, that little 6.7 short bed, that thing.
Oh, I bet
that thing gets with it, and obviously it's it's a different setup. But I mean, that thing, the thing that I blown away, like even with that truck. I mean, we built that exhaust to be a little bit loud. Like he wanted it to be a little bit rowdy.
Yeah.
It sounds like a Mustang. I mean, when I hear it, if I close my eyes, all I hear is a Mustang GT with a Borla exhaust flying down. Yeah, that too. I spent some time with Justin Pollock, who's a Formula Drift driver. Okay. He drove Mustang for Falcon Tire, and anyway, I helped him out. When I ride in the car at SEMA, and then I also went to St. Louis and helped him pit crew a little bit, one time, and whatever. But his car's got like 1,000 horsepower. But just I don't really care what anybody says. Like to me, the Coyote is just the sound of that engine. It's just
it sounds amazing.
I mean,
when you're spinning it up, they sound good.
It just sounds like it just sounds like it's going 150 miles an hour when it's just going, you know.
But that's 20. The problem. It sounds like it's going 150 miles an hour and
know,
it's only going 30.
I know. I hear you. But but like even in that truck though, like I hear it, I'm like, damn, this thing sounds so good. But even from a drivability factor, like even in that thing, I mean, it's, you know, it's a 10R80 and, you know, there's no, I mean, it's a bone stock engine as far as that goes, but it's the drivability part of it is really nice. I mean, that thing is as loud as the exhaust is when you're cruising down the road at, you know, 1800 RPM or whatever. That thing is so quiet. It's the weirdest thing.
They're very smooth too. The Coyote and the 10 speeds, it's a smooth operating, rotating assembly.
Well, that's what I just did a video on the drivability side of that orange Highboy, and I was trying to take a little bit of inspiration from your driving videos because I'm always like, damn, Jeremy,
don't do that.
Jeremy does a good job with these driving videos.
Thanks, but don't take inspiration from me.
I'll read the comment. Go ahead and read all the comments.
In the comment section.
I don't really care. I mean, you know, I obviously most of those massacred comments are from people who, you know, probably had never driven anything but their Honda.
Probably.
You know, anyway, but point being, you know, the on that orange truck, like that was one of the comments I made in the video, is like just the smooth power, like of the Coyote. Like it's just, I don't know, it's just a smooth, like, and I honestly feel like it was really well mannered in a big 4-wheel drive.
Yeah.
Like, because even if you did wind it up a little bit, like the truck is big enough to where it needs that extra like RPM, maybe a little bit, you know, to get the truck moving down the road and, you know, whatever. And I mean, I agree with you there as far as the smooth part. I mean, I've never driven one in a muscle car, you know, or whatever that way, but I don't know.
How does that stack up against the Godzilla motors? You've done them both. In the trucks, what's the difference? How do they feel?
They're definitely different. After driving one with the Coyote in it so much, then you jump in with a Godzilla. It's just different because the Godzilla makes all the power at a way lower RPM range because of, you know, the cubic inches and the torque and the whole deal that way. And so you don't realize you're really in the power because if you're listening for that Coyote kind of wind up in the Godzilla, like it's not there because it's totally different. And you know, and the next thing you know, you're like, wow, I'm actually kind of in this thing. And it's, you know, like I said, the RPM range is different. It's definitely, I mean, it's a completely different animal. I mean, for sure. And the drivability though, I would say, usually when a customer calls and they want to know, well, I'm open to Godzilla, Coyote, whatever you think. I'm like, well, what are you doing with the truck? Like, what's your goal here? And you know, if it's really just about just drivability and being able to just cruise somewhere, I actually might even tip somebody towards the Coyote. Because I think from just a cruisability and drivability, you're going to get better fuel mileage out of it. Because, I mean, you're obviously shrinking 150 cubic inches almost, you know. So fuel mileage, you're going to go down, like some of that kind of stuff from a drivability aspect. But if a guy has any inkling towards wanting to do actual truck stuff, like maybe tow something or, you know, whatever, I definitely would go towards the Godzilla that way, just because the power to me, you know, and then obviously having the beefier transmission and all that other stuff, like, you know, it was built for truck stuff. I mean, it's a Super Duty engine.
Like it's big block versus small block, basically.
Yeah, 100%. You know, and you know, I know guys that maybe think differently than that, but you know, based on my experience, I mean, I think, you know, we just got one started up in a 75 crew cab, and you know, it feels a little different to me because when that truck came in, it had a 572 big block Ford in it with 650 whatever horse. Like it was an animal, but it was in a
stump puller
6,000 pound truck. You know, it's like you got this like high performance big block, in a 6,000 pound, you know, 19 foot long crew cab. Like it's kind of wasted, you know, and the drivability on it at that point was not good. You know, the transmission was clumsy in it and whatever. So the customer wanted better drivability. So we put the Godzilla in it and
get it done.
You know, it's definitely, you know, it's missing some horsepower compared to that big block, but of course, the drivability is just
no replacement for displacement. As they say.
I've heard it said a few times before.
Listening to your story, there's an awesome takeaway here that I think that anybody listening should realize that I think everybody's always searching for like what to do. You're getting in business. You're trying to you're starting a hot rod shop. What you've done here is simply did something well and sort of believed in yourself, I think. And the byproduct was that more of it came. It's the classic, like you build it, they will come recipe.
Yeah.
it'd be interesting to be sitting here listening to you lay out this business plan that you had of going into this said business and then the success that followed. But it's really like, from what I'm gathering as you're talking, it's like, dude, I just built like a badass truck. And then another one came, and I made that one really good too.
And I learned a little bit more, and I tried to make this one better.
And I knew how to handle it. I enjoyed like working with the customer, paid attention to the customer, handled the customer, and then another one came. And it's like, it's a great example of how you get started. Like I think a lot of people are intimidated, when they sort of get into business. You got to have this like master plan. Just do something really well.
A master plan is just going to cause you frustration, because we all know along the way you're going to pivot, right? Right. And being able to pivot is another secret to the success. But having to pivot when you lay out such a very detailed plan and say, on Tuesday this is going to happen, on Thursday this is going to happen, and then on the second quarter this is going to happen, and I'm building this. It's anytime something goes, even if it's not a bad thing, it's a derailment or a pivot, then it's like, well, fuck this. Everything's going to shit.
Well, this goes back to another one of those things where my wife has been incredibly gracious with me, because she is very much have to have a plan, figure it all out beforehand, and then go into action, right, kind of thing. And, I'm not that way all the time. Like, cause at some point to me, like, on my own end, it's like, you can talk all you want, but again, no matter what, you can have everything planned out. So you think, but as soon as you get into it, bam, everything changes.
Yep.
Because of whatever, and so, and to me, what makes a good fabricator, or even a builder in general, is you have to be a good problem solver. And so if you don't have the problem solving capabilities to be able to look at whatever the issue is, or whatever the problem is, or whatever you don't have in front of you, and you need to figure that out, like that translates into business for me. Like, because
it's just problem solving.
Yeah. I mean, there, every day it's like, you don't expect something, and next thing you know, the phone rings, or, a guy comes to you, hey, I accidentally broke this, or whatever it may be. I mean, it's just constant.
The one thing you can expect is problems.
Yeah.
Like, you can expect that what you are expecting that day is not going to happen. It's going to be something different.
The best thing to do with your wife on the planning and stuff, because I've had to learn this a lot with Phil in particular, is you can still plan. You just change the amount that you're planning. Because very early on, it was like, all right, well, we're going to go to SEMA, if we need to leave by this day, and then where we're going to stay, blah, blah. And it was like, oh yeah, we'll figure that out. We'll figure it out. So now it's, and I would always get frustrated. I'm like, well, no, we're going to plan this, but so now it's just, the plan is we're going to SEMA when we go, and we're going to stay somewhere. So that's easy. You could just plan for that, because then we will stay somewhere and we will go. So just, with the wife and planning stuff, like, hey, next year we're going to succeed in business, and we're going to do better next year than we did this year. Let's just plan on that. Yeah. Let's all together agree and plan that we're going to do better than we did this year.
Well, in the way,
and then that's easy. Okay, no problem. I feel better. We planned it now. It's good.
Well, and with the way that things have gone, I mean, I've been open for, I opened officially kind of in April, so going on 4 years. But the first year and a couple months, it was just me by myself in the shop, just working, building stuff. I built 95% of that orange highboy we did by myself, and all that, and did a couple other projects in that time and whatever. But then, I got to a point where I'm like, I really feel like I really need some help in here, because I just can't do everything. I used to call my forklift my right-hand man, because it was like, hey, I need a hand. Oh, hey, I'm just going to use the forklift.
That's what I'm talking
about. And putting engines,
I don't think I could build a car without a forklift.
Oh, I know. Having one you can just use. So I put hoods on with them, and, all that kind of stuff. So then I decided to hire my first guy, and it was like, that's a huge, making the decision to open up an opportunity for somebody else to trust in you enough to support their life.
Big responsibility.
That's massive. Just making that one jump to hire one person was like, wow, this is a big deal. And like, for me, it was like just hoping that you find a guy that's actually worth something, whatever. And I got super lucky. I feel like that the guy that I hired, Josh, has been phenomenal. Super hardworking guy.
Rare with a Josh too. Very rare when it comes to Josh's.
Here we go. It's been a It's been
the longest we've gone.
Been a couple hours without a fucking hurtful comment. So you did pretty good today.
But no, he's been phenomenal. I mean, he came from, there's a company called Vermeer right in town, and they're a huge manufacturing company. I mean, they make everything from hay balers. They're a company that invented the big round hay bales. They invented that technology. So they make hay balers, they make underground drilling rigs for laying utility lines, and they make wood chippers and all. I mean, they've got like over 3,000 employees, and they've got like a mile-long stretch of manufacturing facility. I mean, there's a massive operation. Anyway, he came from there and was a welder there, and he just came in, and obviously you don't know somebody until you're working with them as far as work ethic and all that. I mean, and but he came in and he showed me all these old Ford trucks that he's had over the years, and all that. And I'm like, well, okay, he likes the old Ford trucks, so we're on the right path here. And he came in and is just a super hard worker, always forward thinking. Like cool. If something needs done, like, and he knows it needs done, he doesn't have to wait from I don't have to be like, hey Josh, he just will jump right on stuff without me having to say nothing. And that to me is just super valuable. Just and having somebody that you can trust, and that that you feel like that they will just take things by the reins and get the job done, whether you're standing there or not. And then, hired my second guy, then hired a third guy. The second guy I hired about 6 months later-ish, then hired a third guy about 10 months after that. And, it was all just out of necessity. Okay, we're doing more of this. I really could use some, and the way I looked at it was like, okay, here's everything that I'm doing. All right, now you have this portion of it, and then, it'd be really nice if I had somebody handle this portion of it, and then now I need somebody to handle this portion of it. So I've always kind of taken what I've done and started kind of trying to divide it out. Like, okay, like how can I get rid of the things in my time as far as like maybe the things that I don't have to be responsible for everything. And then obviously, as we start building more projects, you need people who know what they're doing, to be able to, get stuff built in the right way and that sort of thing. But, jumping off the deep end into, being an employer has been an interesting, and fun.
Dude, you do an amazing job of it. I mean, this whole conversation has been so eye-opening and understandable. The progression,
Yeah.
And to echo what you're talking about is the takeaway is that is the key, is to find the thing.
Don't overthink it.
Don't overthink it. But it's funny, the passion that, and I don't think you even realize it. I know you don't realize it. The passion in the knowledge of all of these Ford trucks and these parts and the things and these high boys and amount of patina stuff, 4-wheel drive stuff, is never been in any of your wheelhouse in the last 15 years of experience and skill set, but it's part of the journey. But there isn't to what you're talking about is don't overthink it, because there is no way coming out of WeatherTech you could have planned like, all right, this is gonna be a long plan, but this is the deal. This is what I'm gonna start out doing, and then I'm gonna go there, and I'm gonna go. There is no way.
It looked like an unsolved mystery. Like if you,
the spaghetti map of thing. But
hard left here, and then
it's so.
and then I don't know what the fuck happened here. There's like this.
Seeing the passion in your knowledge base about all of these, and working with these customers and building these users, and the stories behind them, and it's really cool to see. We have reached the time where it is standard questions time. That's the time.
Brought to you
by the Standard and Wheels HRE. This is a second time we've gone to.
The last podcast was great because Josh is bringing some really good new content to the table.
Yeah, I've got even a couple of new ones. Standard questions, but also new standards.
Questions.
Yeah, brought to you by HRE.
Standard and Wheels, right?
Yeah. A little long.
Yeah.
We'll work through.
We'll
work through that. A little wordy.
Yeah.
First and foremost, first up, bring back favorite car movie.
Ooh. Favorite car movie. That's It probably, honestly, for me, would ultimately have to be Ford versus Ferrari, and I'm sure that's a standard answer, but it's just because of the story of that whole deal. And obviously, it's Hollywoodized a little bit with the movie, but at least, the main premise of the whole thing, like, they did a pretty damn good job at it, in my opinion. But also just, obviously, I felt like it wasn't too far out in left field as far as car-related topics are concerned.
Right.
Usually you watch a car movie and you're like, that wouldn't happen. Yep. Oh, that wouldn't happen. Oh, that wouldn't happen. I always, I can't help myself but lean back to Fast and the Furious days because obviously that was early high school. And when that movie came out, it was like, obviously it was on fire for everybody at that time. Great.
They progressively got a little more far-fetched.
Yeah, but original.
No, I'm talking the
original one.
I'm talking about 99 or 2000.
Yeah, I was thinking 2001 maybe.
Maybe it was 2001.
2001 or 2. Anyway, I watched that movie in a drive-in theater in the back of my dad's Mustang convertible, and I would never forget just watching that
by
movie.
Yourself. Or with some...
my dad, my stepmom, and my brother, and myself. But anyway, it was I was just lonely by myself.
I watched it at Showplace 8. I remember rolled in the Camaro, looking for some action.
We watched the debut. I've told this story a couple times. We watched the debut at the theater, but we had just finished up Jonathan Goolsby's CRX that was wide body that was going to SEMA. And it was inside the theater for the launch of the opening night of the movie, and came in like we were like
King Kong.
It's like, yeah.
I mean, I think like a lot of people that are probably my age, obviously that movie was kind of groundbreaking in a lot of ways. Just I don't know. I feel like car movies before then. I mean, there was some, but it was just another movie that was solely dedicated on like more on what was relevant at that specific time as far as cars. And so in such a, I guess it was obviously very Hollywood, but just in a way that really brought extra, outside viewers who maybe weren't in way deep in the car world or at that point or whatever. Yeah. But like, I mean, I was still in high school, but that was, so obviously just, being a kid still essentially and looking at, what was possible with any, modern cars, Hondas and whatever. My first car was a Honda Civic, and, I turned that car into a road race car, sort of. It was kind of lame, but, it was a 91 four-door Civic. So I've always had a soft spot for that CRX body style because that's what, the front of mine was. But yeah, I put a roll cage in it and Wilwood brakes.
Single overhead cam or dual?
I swapped it to a B16. So
1.6 liter.
1.6. And that thing,
Civic SI
I took that thing. I took thing
that all this stuff, dude.
You don't like that, do you?
No.
I took that thing out on a road course.
A lot of stuff still up there.
Hey, I did. Just swapping that motor, I doubled the horsepower in the car. So that
I had a B18 C1 in mine. So
there you go. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that's like I said. I still joke with my wife sometimes that I'm like, one of these days I'm going to buy one that's just like my old one. And there was one I don't know, probably a year and a half, 2 years ago, it popped up for sale. It was identical to my first car. Oof. Color, everything, and it was mint. It was like some old lady's car, so probably stuffed it away in a garage forever. It was like super low miles, mint, and it was like $12,000. And I'm like, man, like that would be just.
Supposedly mine is still out there in.
You didn't wreck
close? No, not the Civic. Huh. Mine is. Mine was in the show car stage but it's supposedly very close to what I sold it as, and it's still out there or in making the realms. And Nopi is coming back. They're actually doing a big. Really? They're doing a big announcement at PRI.
The Tuner Nationals.
Wow.
They did it. They came back last year in Atlanta, but they're making an announcement, and it's coming back. And they're actually doing like a split of like newer tuner stuff, but then throwback stuff. Basically, that's how old we are. That
it's all
old Civics from Nopi back in the day. It's going to be like the Street Rod Nationals. Of going back.
Have you seen some of the old?
I never fuck with that stuff.
You seen some of the old Japanese stuff that's been selling to bring a trailer? Like,
it's nuts.
Like it is. I mean, I get nuts. It. I mean, it's the guys that grew up with that stuff or had one that are now older and have money, and
you can spend $80,000 on a good Integra right now.
Oh, on a
Type R.
On a good. Oh yeah. Yeah, and
I'm telling you what, you ain't never lived.
Never been in one.
You never felt VTEC?
I was just going to say that. You haven't lived until you felt VTEC.
I felt it.
I know you can't feel VTEC because your neck's still fine. You've obviously never felt
dude, my
VTEC.
neck's not. There was a.
I can tell.
Because we were talking about YouTube comments again. Some dude fucking annihilated me over being in
Stop reading that shit.
in Brent's C10. When Brent was driving, he fucking stands on it. Car's 1,000 horsepower, and it's got just a bench seat in it, right? So literally, as he accelerates, I think I was like, and this guy chimes in. He's like, fucking moron. Like, way to oversell the torque and pull of this car by making your neck like snap back, dude. Like, like this is ridiculous. You don't have to do that. I'm like, dude, I like, because I'm like, did I really do that? And I walk back. I'm literally like, yeah, dude, motherfucker's fast, right? but 1,000 horsepower will make your neck snap back a little bit.
Yeah, you never imagine 1,000 horsepower VTEC.
Well, VTEC's more like a slow roll.
Imagine
the NSX has that shit, right?
It's a power band.
The
Dude,
reason it's become so famous,
it's like a 250 shot.
Is from Kyle's.
It's a 250 shot of nitrous.
Kyle's sound effects on it. Kyle does the best.
He does
VTEC
really
sound.
He does.
Followed by a drift. It's good.
I actually, I said I was taking inspiration from your videos, and my inspiration was that when I was doing a driving video, I made sure that I kept my neck
straight,
upright.
Yeah, don't let it move.
And I was the guy in the comments actually.
Okay, that probably was you. Do not, and definitely don't exaggerate it. Don't even let it naturally happen, but do not exaggerate it.
Your next video, you just
I'm be like, like,
dude, stop.
You should wear
Please
wear a neck brace.
2026, do me a favor. Shut it off,
dude. It's like up. It's like the first. Like
I know.
The top
I'm
one.
just saying. Don't even look.
Yeah.
All of 2026, your resolution. Do not read a single comment.
Okay.
Let it be, man.
Done.
Like Lennon said, let it be.
I'll throw in a last, I guess, what do they call it? The not the first runner-up or the consolation prize for this car video or movie would be just the Gone in 60 Seconds with Nick Cage in it, because that to me was. I grew up when that movie came out, and so it was like when that one. I mean, I'd seen the original, but then when that one came out, obviously, jumping the Shelby Mustang over the bridge and the whole. I mean, it was just.
You've checked the boxes, man. You've hit them. You got the bang.
Nick Cage coming back out. You got a new movie coming out.
I saw that.
John Madden.
Speaking of what, have you guys ever seen The Pig with him? It's called The Pig.
No, I have not. I've seen it. The trailer. I haven't seen it.
It's a great movie from like the acting and all the stuff.
Well, he's a good actor.
No, if you ever want a movie,
like
Yeah.
sort of why he ended up like doing the sort of volume of films and the type of films he did for a little while.
Yeah, he had to make the money.
Right.
You've watched the Charlie Sheen documentary, haven't you?
Yeah.
Well, he had some bills to pay. He had a lot of bills to pay.
Well, my wife, we watched that movie together, The Pig, and we got to the end, and the end will make you. I'm not going to spoil it, but she was just like angry and was like, "This was such a dumb movie," and she was all, But if I mean, I'm not like a acting, judge or connoisseur or whatever as far as all the whatever. But I just thought that the movie in general was pretty good. So if you were looking for something that's obscure, it's like an independent film. It's totally obscure, off the whatever, and it something to make your brain.
The way I felt about Eddington. I watched Eddington a few weeks ago, and it's the same thing. Acting is amazing. It's everybody's in it. Good grief, there's the amount of people in it. I mean, Emma Stone's in it, and you've got the Joaquin Phoenix is in it, and then you've got what's the dude from Narcos, the dude with the mustache, famous. He's anyway, but can't.
I can already hear my wife making fun of me for saying I like that movie.
It's
she does not.
Eddington is a wild movie. It's based in pandemic time, like 2019, 2020, in New Mexico. Just a very, very well written, acting's great, but a weirdo kind of like indie kind of film. And then, like an hour and 40 minutes into it, it turns into a Tarantino flick. And you had no idea it was coming. And you're like, what is going on?
Like bloody?
Yeah, an absolute I said like everything Tarantino to the max, all the way to the end. And then it's like, I don't know how to feel about spending my time with this.
You want to talk about a good movie? My son, who's 14, he continually. We try to do family movie night like on Sundays, and
But when he gets on something, it's going to be the same.
When he's on, he's on Bad Santa.
Is it just Bad Santa every weekend? Like, let's do it again.
And
let's do it again.
My wife is like, absolutely not. And then I'm like, well, he's 14. Like, he's a freshman in high school. Like, how bad can I haven't seen it in a long time. So she'll look over. She's like, they're sex.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, well,
That's cool.
Well, maybe he should like learn.
Yeah.
So
let him watch Bad Santa.
I go, she vetoed it. Well, I go downstairs a couple nights ago. Sunday night, yeah. And he's watching it in his room. So I'm like, oh, cool. I kind of want to watch this. So mommy's not here. Like, let's watch this. It's a funny ass movie.
Yeah, it's funny. It's horrible for a 14-year-old.
Do you think is that wrong? At 14? 14 going on 15?
You're the wrong person to be making the judgment call. You've told the story that your dad said, hey, watch Easy Riders when I'm gone.
Yeah, he watched. So
he said, watch this while I'll be gone.
Yes. And we never had like the birds and the bees talk. He let me sleep in, he had a boat and it had, a little cabin in it. And my mom was up in the house and popped in a little VHS tape that kind of explained most of the things that you need to learn in that birds and the bees talk. And a young Jeremy Gerber, young impressionable child, it's like, so that's how it, okay. Huh. And I figured it all out. But I don't know, at 14, that was much younger than 14. But at 14, you can't watch Bad Santa? You don't think
you can watch Bad Santa.
Okay.
Yeah.
But Billy Bob
Why I
Thornton,
can watch Bad Santa at 14.
Oh, my God, is he fucking funny in that?
It's just him.
Yeah.
It's just him saying whatever he wants to say. It's a great one. All right, next question. Yeah, why I can watch Bad Santa. Okay. Tell him I said it was okay.
Uncle Josh said it's all right.
Uncle Josh said it's fine. Let's see, next up. Curveball. Complete curveball. This is a brand new one. We got new ones coming. This is one of the new ones. This is the newest of the new, first time ever. If you could go back in time, at any point in time, and tell yourself one piece of advice, what would it be, and what would you tell yourself?
I feel like that's not new, didn't we? I feel like we did that before.
Don't be one of the guys in the comments.
Okay.
Maybe we brought it back. Maybe it's an older one. We're bringing it back.
Old ass Josh forgetting shit again.
He's like doing groundbreaking.
And sings fast. Wow.
That's funny. Man, that's you're getting deep. I think I would say maybe it's in some respects it would be to maybe try to just recognize what I would want to do with like my future goals, like because like even from the very beginning, getting started building cars, trying to be a fabricator, trying to build hot rods, like I had no clue what that meant. Like, straight out of high school, like WeatherTech makes it look fancy, flames and chopping tops and the whole deal, but, I still, I look back at that point and I don't know that I know for a fact I had no clue what that actually meant. Like, what does it mean to build cars? Like, obviously it's putting classic cars together, but if you would have told me now, or then that I'd be doing what I'm doing right now, I'd have been like, that's crazy. Like, and if you explained all the stuff that I got into, ahead, into that. And so, and I think it goes back to your point you made earlier about, teaching young kids, high school kids or whatever it is, like, whether it's a trade or whether it's, what is possible, with hard work and with something you are passionate about. And I think for me, I think it would be just trying to, because I think obviously there's some positive to trial and error stuff. Obviously you got to try stuff sometimes before you even know if you like it or if you're going to whatever. But I think there's still ways to, that I wish I would have known more of what I need to be ready for, and whether that's, because you know, I mean, people are like, oh, it's pretty cool. You're on your business. You're like, yeah, but it's like, I'm flying by the seat of my pants. Like I'm not a business major. I didn't take any business classes. Like I'm learning every day, you know, and it's every day you know, and even 10 years ago, you know, so it's 2025, 10 years ago, 2015, I was at Scott's. I'd been there for a couple of years, you know, and even then, if you asked me like, oh, do you know, and cause I remember saying people, cause people would ask me like, oh, do you see opening your own shop someday? And my answer was always like, ugh, no, like that sounds terrible, you know, but it was because I had such a, you know, I obviously had worked for people, you know, but you see all the stresses and all the different issues of a business owner and all that. And I'm going through those things now as the business owner and learning those things. And I'm at a point in my life where I'm old enough and I've experienced enough stuff where I can, again, self-evaluate. I can look at those things in a way that, you know, I'm mature enough now to be able to, you know, adapt and be able to adjust the way I need to do things and learn. But when I was younger, I feel, you know, I feel like if I could have been told like, hey, you're going to be doing these things someday, you know, maybe you should prepare a little better for that, you know, and that's not even necessarily to say that I should have gone to college necessarily, but maybe I should have focused harder on, you know, just trying to learn some things that were beyond just being a good TIG welder or, you know, being, you know, whatever. And also I think, you know, some of it just from a personal standpoint, it just, you know, obviously we all grew up and obviously you guys have kids and all that stuff. I mean, just learning, you know, I mean, my wife and I had kids late, so my daughter just turned 4, right before Thanksgiving there. And then my son's 3 months old. You know, so we're late in the game when it comes to kids. But you know, it's kind of given a different perspective on why I'm doing what I'm doing. Like I'm doing it for myself in the sense of like, this is what I'm passionate about. But now, like, I'm also doing it because I want to provide my kids with an excellent future. And that was not always my mentality of like thinking about that aspect. I mean, I knew at some point I'd probably have kids and, you know, that sort of thing. But now, you know, my mindset is, you know, everything I'm doing, I'm trying to do better because I want to give them better. And, you know, same thing for my wife. Like I want to do better for her. I mean, she stays at home every day with our kids and deals with a screaming baby who's always hungry and he's super chubby because he doesn't stop eating. And he's, you know, and then my daughter who's an opinionated 4-year-old and, you know, all that stuff. And, you know, she's got a super hard job. And, so
how long do you think you're going to want to give your kids better?
All the time.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Why do you say that?
We'll let them get a little older and see.
Well,
I wanted to give I've talked about this before. All I wanted to do was make up for all my mistakes. I wanted my kids to have everything. And I did. And then there was the time of like, hey, you're 19, you're 21. I did everything. Well, so now it's time. If you want to make your life better, make it better. And so, I did my best to make your life better. So figure it out how to make it better. Well, the trough is closed.
I think when I say that, as far as like make their life better or do stuff for them,
no,
it's more. It's for me. It's more in the sense of not necessarily the itemized stuff, but it's like me being the best version of myself that I can be for them. You know, because I mean, even at the shop right now, like I mean, I have to work overtime, obviously, because I'm the business owner, and so I'm trying to do stuff all day long. And before my son came a couple months ago, I was working, 6:30 in the morning until 6 or 6:30 at night, and working extra and whatever. And now I've scaled that back because I'm.
You got another year and a half before that. He won't even know. It's just a boob that gives him food right now. Like just keep going for another year and a half, and then
it's like bonus round right now.
Yeah, just get after it.
And I'm obviously trying to be home, as much as I can. And it's, man, that's a hard balance, balancing, really little kids at home, with obviously trying to run a business. I think it's a tough balance between the two. But I think, like I said, when I say do better for them, it's more of me being the best version of myself that I can teach them the things that I had to learn the hard way. Not necessarily the giving them of items or, anything like that. It's more of the, I look back at, when I first moved to California and started working for Ironworks, I didn't even know what a credit score was. Like I didn't know nothing about personal finance, anything, you know. And next thing you know, you go a couple of years and you're like, wait a minute, what's that? What's the credit score? What's, you know, it just, you know, and part of me, you know, I think in general, school systems do a great disservice to kids in general, not teaching personal finance, because in general, they don't.
Life skills,
general
skills
life skills
you're going to need.
Yeah. You know, because, you know, obviously I think I failed, not failed, but didn't do well in chemistry and these other things. But it's like, to me, those aren't real.
How many
life
times
skills.
have you found yourself using, like, how many Bunsen burners have you come across, like, in your daily life that, like, I mean, dude, I need to
So
figure
when
out.
I was in high school, my
molecular chart here.
my chemistry teacher, we were learning all the periodic table and all that crap, and you know, I was just frustrated because I was having a hard time with it. It wasn't my strong suit, and I was frustrated. And she's like, and I just straight up point blank asked, I was like, when am I going to use this someday? Well, you know, what do you want to do for a living? And I said, I want to build hot rods. And she's like, well, you know, yeah, you could use this. And, you know, you mixing oils and this, and like started going into like, you know, wanting to like make my own oil for my cars and stuff. And I'm like, no, like nobody, like, you know, it's just, and that's what I said, talk about like the life skills, like that.
I said the same thing. My attitude was always, when am I going to need this? And I think that's how I found myself in Geared Up for Learning, Josh. That
if you don't think you'll need anything anytime,
yeah.
I think you're right. I mean, we're going on a rabbit hole, but it's talking about kids learning, you know, life skills and credit scores, and you know, writing it. You know, nobody writes a check anymore, but you think, you know, things like that they're like, oh, you don't know how to do that. I understand. I've said the same thing. I've gone through this before. However, had those classes been given, or those lessons been given, or somebody been said, I'm not going to speak for you, I wouldn't have given a fucking shit. Yeah. Even if they were trying to teach me about it. I didn't care. I don't know anybody that would have cared.
If they prioritized it, though, because you were focused, at least I was, I 100% knew that 90% of the shit that they were trying to teach, I was never going to use. Yeah. And I was right. Yeah. I was right. And the comment was like, how many times somebody told you, do you think you're going to have a calculator in your pocket? Like, there's not one thing that I miss.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, literally.
No, I
not a single thing that I miss except those simple life skills.
Yeah.
Like,
I understand what you're saying, but they were prioritizing math and English because they think that you needed it. If they would have prioritized math, English, and also good finances and investing and credit along the same way, why would have that thing be like, oh, you know what?
It was intelligent enough to know what I thought would be useful and what wasn't. Like,
okay, maybe you would have. I don't think a lot of kids would have.
There were things that clicked, that like graphic design. That was the first year that they came out, and I was like, dude, this is, man, that was like something I got an A in, and it just like, it clicked. The teacher was an actual like successful.
That's the difference. It's not the subject.
He was a
it's how it's being presented.
Well, but I saw the validity in doing it, like how this could be applied to your life and be useful.
Right.
And he delivered it in a great way that was like, well, this guy's he was an architect and a builder, and most of the time during the class he'd get you going, and then I'd see him over there like working and I'm like,
on his own price.
This dude's badass.
He's
like,
double dipping.
This guy's got like a business, and this is cool, and like it was inspiring.
I understand.
Whereas the other lame ass,
but that's to my point. It's not just the message; it's the messenger.
Well, there was a combination of
and
that.
It's the way things go. To my daughter was really, really good at listening and asking questions and listening to things that we had to say and trying to teach life lessons. You know, at 16, 17, you know, she worked, you know, pretty much full time from, you know, 17 years old. She was working at 16, saved her money. Son, the opposite, right? My son's very much like me. Does not matter, right? I'm not going to use any of this stuff in school. I don't really care about it. I'm not going to need it. I'm not going to do that. I've tried to talk to him, and it's been the messenger, right? It's been that's not the message. It's the messenger talking about, hey, this is some things you need to look at on credit cards. This stuff. We'll try this. Never really been a thing that he's ever not disrespectful, but not interested enough to like take it and apply it. Now, however, with where he's working at now and some of those other people, you know, he's coming home and, oh, so-and-so just got, you know, this new 488. This kid's 24 years old. He just bought his new Ferrari. And I'm like, yeah, we got to understand. He's like, no, Dad, I understand. You know, he's got a 860 credit score at 23 years old. And the reason he got this credit score is because he's already got these 2 credit cards and he used these to do this. I've already got the same thing. My credit score is already this. I'm like, so 6 months ago, I'm trying to give you this lesson and you don't have anything to do with it. But it's presented in the message. The same message is presented in a different way with things, right, that he wants to have. That's my point. Was in school, you can't have Miss Sanford, the English teacher, also say the thing we need to talk about is credit score, right? Yeah. The graphic design guy that was cool, that was presenting it in a way you're like, oh man, this is something I can get behind. That's the thing that needs to change. The types of message that we're giving them, but the messenger and the way it's being presented is a very important thing.
Well, and I think that's why, like, kind of goes back to my point. Like, when I say, you know, I want to be better, you know, in certain ways, like for my kids and stuff, it's like, you know, I look at my dad, you know, and my dad has always worked his ass off. You know, like, there's one thing I ever know about my dad is that he's worked his ass off. I mean, there was 4 of us kids, and my mom didn't work, you know, up until I was like in high school, and my parents actually got divorced and that, you know, that sort of thing. And that's when my mom went back to work. But then, you know, but my dad, my entire life, like, was always working overtime, whatever it took to pay the bills and put food on the table and all that kind of stuff. You know, and so I probably get some of my work ethic from him as far as that goes, but I still think that there's aspects that, you know, being that I looked at my, you know, everybody looks at their dad in a certain way, but like, you know, for my dad, it was always like, I always knew he was going to be a super hard worker, you know, and it seemed like no matter what, he knew how to do everything. I don't know why. He was always like I'm the jack of all trades, but the master of none. But like, I mean, it didn't matter if he was trying to do some construction project around the house or work on the cars or whatever it was. Like, he just did it. You know, as a kid, that was always mind blowing to me. I'm like, how do you know how to do all this stuff?
That was the same thing with
you know. Man. But then, you know, with my dad though, you know, he'd always be like, nah, you know, whatever. Like, you know, but I mean, he dabbled in a lot of different stuff. You know, but then it goes back to, you know, I don't want to be just, you know, for my kids, I don't want to be just the dad who just works my ass off. I want to be the dad who also is involved to teach them those things because of my position in the way that they see me. Like, I want to be the guy that everything that I say in general, like, I know obviously it's their kids and at some point it's right over their head as they get older and that sort of thing. But in general, like, you know, if I, at least for myself, am doing the best that I can, whether it's teaching a lesson about, you know, your personal finance or teaching how to change the brakes on your car, you know, I want my kids to be able to look at those later on and be like, oh, they actually was trying to teach me this stuff and actually trying to, like, set me up for success, you know, later on as an adult, as opposed to, you know, and I'm not saying that my dad didn't do those things, but like, in the sense of personal finance and those types of situations and all that, like, it was basically just like, you know, figure it out on your own kind of thing, you know?
Yeah.
And that goes back even to getting into WeatherTech. I mean, the couple weeks before I was actually supposed to move to WeatherTech, you know, they basically called me and were like, yeah, we don't have all the money required in order to put you in school here, you know? But my parents had nothing, you know? And so it was, you know, I mean, I remember crying up in my room thinking I wasn't being able to go to WeatherTech, you know, because of, you know, we didn't have the money sort of thing. And, you know, again, it's more about, you know, being able to teach. And obviously back then, I didn't even know what that meant. I'm like, what do you mean without the money? Like, I thought we just went to school.
Yeah, you just go to school.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, but again, thankfully, you know, WeatherTech people did some things and, you know, were able to secure a little bit extra money for me to be able to go to school. But, again, just being able to set, you know, things in motion for my kids later on that maybe they don't fully appreciate in a moment, you know, but that later on, you know, that they will, you know, take forward with them. And so I think, I don't know, obviously we got long-winded on this, you know, question as far as like what I would tell myself.
No,
but I think, you know,
that's a deep one, man. It's a lot to unpack there.
Next up, most memorable law enforcement interaction story.
It's probably not very exciting compared to most, you know, some people, but,
Is it Tim Palazzolo still in the lead with the attempted murder charge?
His was good, and Kindig's bailout story was pretty good too.
Okay.
Yeah,
There's a couple of great ones.
can-
Go back and listen to some of those if you're listening now.
I've never been in jail or anything like that. My brother was a sheriff's deputy for a long time, so
T.J. Russell's was good too. I forgot.
I don't know. I mean, I've had a couple of just random weird ones. Like, so one time in Ventura, when we were, my wife and we had a 600 square foot apartment, and it was, this guy had built his house, and he built this apartment above his garage, and it was it was all just one building, but it was above his garage, and that was our apartment. And I drove at the time, it was actually the day I was moving my toolbox from Palmer's to Scott's to, move my stuff over there to take the job at Scott's. I was moving my truck, and with my toolbox, and got rear-ended on the highway, whatever that way. And so, I just went out and bought a little commuter car. So I had a little black, it was a 2013 Ford Focus, little hatchback, little, 5-speed car, fun to drive, just something good gas mileage, just zip around, whatever. So I had that, and I was just, driving out for a little bit. And, man, I don't even remember what time it was in the middle of the night. It was midnight, I don't know, 1 a.m., something like that. All of a sudden there's just banging on our door. Well, our door was upstairs above the garage, and we had to go down a long stairwell that had a door at the bottom of it too. And so they're just banging on that bottom door, and there's just like lights out there, flashlights and whatever. And I'm like, what is going on? And I go down there and I open the door, and there's just like 8 police officers standing there. And they're like, you own the black car out front? And I'm like, yeah. And I'm thinking like somebody hit it, because it's just out on the street. And they're like, well, where were you at this time? This kind of stuff. So my wife's at the top of the stairs, and she's yelling like, I don't even remember what she was yelling, but she was yelling like, she was trying to yell answers down the stairs. And I'm like, you can't do that, because that makes it look suspicious anyway. But it was just pretty funny. But but they're like, where were you at this time? When they were, I don't know, they were looking for some random car, and it was a black hatchback, and it came down the road that went right by our neighborhood. I don't know. So they were looking for a black hatchback anyway. So again, not very exciting. It wasn't anything that I did, but it was just one of those times where you get woken up in the middle of the night with like not just knocking, just straight banging on the door. And they're like, they're all these questions. Yeah, my wife's yelling answers down the stairs, and I'm just like,
get a warrant.
I'm like, I'm going to get arrested here just because she's yelling answers down the stairs. And I just was like, I literally drove home from work that night, and the car has been sitting there ever since. Like, I don't know what to tell you, sort of thing. Again, I don't have very great law enforcement interactions aside from, I did get pulled over one time. I didn't necessarily see the cop, but I accelerated fast in my Honda that I had. I still had it when I first started working at Ironworks, and took off from a light, and I kind of accelerated fast, but the neighborhood was right there. So I like accelerated, and then, never broke the speed limit, and then just dipped in the neighborhood to go to the house. And next thing you know, there's lights behind me, and the officer was just, I had been working, I don't know, I think I'd worked super early and was working late because it was dark out already. And I'd probably been working 13 or 14 hours that day or whatever at Ironworks at the time. And, my eyes were bloodshot red just from being tired and whatever. And so he's like,
with your eyes, son?
The cop asked me if I was smoking a little reef. And I was like, I don't even smoke weed. And I know that that's a weird term.
Yeah.
Because I knew a lot of friends that had, but I don't know.
No, man, you got some?
No, not on me, man.
But I don't know. Like I said, my law enforcement interactions are pretty minimal in that sense, but not really exciting.
You already did first car. The newest one. The newest one.
Are you sure it's the newest?
This is
brand new as of last night. I really like this one.
Yeah.
It's a good one.
Okay.
If the day comes, you have the means financially and otherwise, and you're at the point where you're going to have your dream vehicle built. Who builds it? Who do you hire to build it? And it can't be you. Who do you hire to build it? And what is it? What's the vehicle? And who's building it?
That's a fantastic question.
Unlimited budget, obviously.
My wife always gets frustrated because when I talk about dream vehicles, it's always, I have like classifications of dream vehicles. So is it a muscle car? Is it a 60s? Big.
There's got to be one.
That's got to be one.
It pops into your head instantly.
Above them all.
Honestly, the one that pops into my head immediately when you said that. So I'll just put this one out there. I have a soft spot for like a 63 Lincoln Continental convertible.
Okay.
Suicide
Definitely
doors.
one to pay somebody to do.
Everybody
And an unlimited budget.
Everybody wants one of those, and nobody wants to build it.
Yeah. I've worked on one, so I understand that.
Yeah.
Especially the convertible stuff. All the retractable
It's like
roof
space
stuff.
shuttle, dude.
Oh yeah, it's pretty. When you see it work properly, it's pretty incredible.
It's
but
nuts.
it's the fact that somebody figured all that crap out in the 60s is amazing. I mean, even the 50s. I mean, you get the retractable hardtop.
They were smoking some reef when they came up with the way that all works.
Reef though, like
Yeah.
60s?
early 60s.
There was marijuana around for a long time.
It wasn't like real mainstream, right?
There was LSD and stuff in the 60s.
Oh, in the early 60s, you're coming off the tail end of the 50s. Is that are people?
Yeah, I know. They're smoking a shit ton of weed.
Really?
There was a absolute hell of a time with pills in the 50s. Shit ton of Quaaludes and stuff. Yeah.
That was 50s?
In the 50s, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I don't know.
Fair enough. So as far as
keep it clean, dude. I don't know.
And it's fine. Body's a temple. I get it. I know everything. I know everything about music or musicians and what they battled with. And
What was Johnny Cash doing?
fucking lewds.
yeah.
Yeah, bunch of lewds. Elvis, same way.
Well, and the era was
Late 50s.
50. Okay.
Yeah. They're smoking reefer. Hell, they're smoking reefer. Or before, obviously way before Vietnam War. And hell, reefer's been around for people that are like weed aficionados. We are the stupidest sounding people right now because weed literally.
Yeah, dude. I'm not a.
When something grows out of the ground, it's been around for a long fucking time. All right, so they've been smoking weed.
I thought it was invented in like 61. I don't.
No,
Just kidding.
There's got to be a year when it became mainstream.
Bible days. Fucking weed's been around forever.
I'm gonna Google that.
That's fine.
That's fine. I don't know.
They're making their clothes out of it back
I'm
then.
gonna Google it right now.
Google it. You're gonna be surprised.
Okay. See.
When
80 BC.
you know how when you type into Google and it like tries to finish your question for you?
It usually does it correctly.
Because other people have
Yes.
also, it's like when was weed invented? Like that's going to be the,
Let's see.
I can see that's what's going on in his phone over there.
You guys just keep going. Just don't mind me.
Yeah, you got the answer right there. It goes
No, I
already
haven't
popped
yet.
up. Oh, I thought it popped up already.
So as far as the Lincoln, my vision in my head, and it's funny, obviously, like you said, with the trucks and all the other stuff, like the Lincoln seems kind of out in left field for me, but it's I've always wanted one with that was like kind of a off-white, almost like a Ford Wimbledon white.
Oh.
But with like
Love a Wimbledon white.
but with like some type of like a silver or blue pearl over it. Just real subtle though, like nothing wild. But I've always wanted like big wires on it, like
Okay.
yeah. And then probably like red interior.
Who builds it?
So who builds it?
You're paying big money
Yeah.
for your dream build as a builder
Honestly,
that's a perfectionist. Who builds it?
At this point, for the style that I want, I feel like it would have to be Troy.
It's fucking twice in a row.
bullshit,
And this is a dumb question. I'm not doing this question
that's-
anymore. I'm not.
the
This,
question's
honestly,
brand new.
we
it's
did
twice
twice
in a
and it's over with. It's 2 and done.
For me, it's more of
Damn it.
it's more of the.
No, it makes sense.
It's more of the because I envision the car being like having this elegance to it.
That's he's the right guy to build that car.
Because like I look at like
He's
what
not
he,
gonna build a Lincoln with wires on it.
I-
I'm just telling you right now.
well, no, I hear you, but
Yeah,
it's
he
my-
would. He would.
If I was
no,
paying him
he
enough
would
money,
be. He would be the person to hire, but he would never build a Lincoln with wires on it.
I hear you. I just mean like so when I look at the cars that he's built for like the Rydell's,
Yeah,
just the
elegance.
The amazing elegance that are in those cars. Like that's how I would envision this Lincoln being in my head. Like just a car that when you look at it, you're just like, holy shit.
Dude, even in this fictitious question where I'm like, unlimited budget, I'm going through it now. I'm like, nah, dude, I don't know if you can afford Troy. Like even in the unlimited budget, I'm like, he's going to probably make you cry.
North of unlimited.
I can't even afford myself. So
oh, it's just funny how.
no, I hear you.
That's twice, and we asked it twice. We asked Levi and asked you, and
What
both
did
of
Levi
them.
say?
Levi was Troy.
Same thing.
What did
Yeah,
what was he
the
building?
car was
He
a
wanted a 59 Invicta.
Buick.
Yeah.
Right on. That's a.
I'm going to start clarifying the budget thing a little bit more. Well, also we need to start.
It has to stay in six figures. It can
No.
be high six figures.
I've got it even better.
Go ahead.
This is going to make it even more interesting. So the
Well,
question.
now you're
No.
feeding into that whole like, of course,
No,
you can
no.
do that. It's, when you get that kind of budget, like, now that's a stupid thing to say.
No, I'm not saying anything about
Okay.
money wise. A little bit, but the question is going to be prefaced of assuming there's a timing factor to this, right? So, hey, this is the question. This is probably not going to happen tomorrow. So it's going to be happening over the next few years. So at that point in time, I mean, let's face it, it'll be Adam Banks hot rods, right? It's
I didn't want to say it again.
Right.
Like I said it last night.
Troy's not going to be able to build
Troy build
another
it or
car
Adam
in
Banks build that?
20 years. Troy ain't building no more cars.
No, like, dude, next year that fall he took.
Another icy, one more icy step, and he's
Paint booth mishap. Yeah.
Yeah. Dude, hire somebody next time, for Christ's sake. You're getting too old, too fried. You're too valuable.
yeah, no, he doesn't need to do that again. He didn't got no more lives left in him.
I hear you. I so obviously, lived in California for a long time, whatever, just moved here. So going to have stuff done over here at Ready Strip, the first time I went was it was last October, so a little over a year ago. I came down here, dropped some stuff off, and I'm like, dude, I'm like this close to Rad Rides. I've always wanted to go by there. Like, and unplanned, whatever. It's like, well, I was like, I hope they're there. I don't remember what was going on, but I know, obviously, I'm not up on every single show that happens, so I don't know where they might be. But I stopped in, and Adam and Troy were there, and everybody's there working. And
You believe how they built all that stuff out of that barn? That dirt floor barn, and they built all that high end stuff.
Dude, their shop is pretty badass.
Yeah,
Cool
no.
shop.
I'm just tired of hearing the good stuff.
I know, I hear you, but
They
I
got to
stopped
be
by
into some weird shit.
I was just kind of there. One of their guys, I don't remember his name, but just like, yeah, go ahead and just look around. I'm like, okay. So I was just kind of walking around. Then Adam's like, he got my attention and just was asking some questions and just showed me around a little bit. It was kind of talking about what they're doing. And then Troy came over and I talked to Troy for probably, 45 minutes or so. But just, one thing I've always appreciated about, the hot rod world in general is just the shows are hard because obviously it shows everybody's getting pulled in so many different directions and there's so much shit going on, but when you stop into somebody's shop, and you can sit down and have a conversation and, talk about, whatever it is, and, to have a guy like Troy at the time, be interested in, these rusty old Fords that I'm working on over in Iowa, that kind of stuff. It would just, that's one thing I've always appreciated about, in general, for most people in the hot rod world is like just the camaraderie and the kind of the brotherhood that there is, in this market, in general. And obviously, it's, there's always a few bad apples here and there, but in general, I think overall we all kind of in this together a little bit, and it's pretty cool that way,
Like if you had to name the baddest apple, who would that be?
Like the worst one.
Like the worst one. Like
just in it.
some of the bad apples.
Just a general example of a bad apple.
Yeah, just like in general. Bryson, it's been an absolute blast, man. This has been a fun time.
Absolutely.
You brought an amazing single malt that I was a little scared because I didn't think Jeremy was going to like it. Just reading it, not tasting it.
It was great.
It was really, really good.
I enjoyed it. I also enjoyed reading Chat GPT prove Josh fucking wrong.
Okay, tell me.
Oh yeah, we never got back to
Yeah. Regular recreational cannabis use really didn't become popular until the late 1960s and early 1970s.
When was it invented?
In the early 60s, marijuana was not mainstream.
That was not the question.
That's what I was getting at, dude.
No, you didn't say when. You
Well,
said
it
when it was
exists-
invented.
Well, is that what I said?
Yes.
Obviously, it existed. I don't think that's...
Everybody's listening.
I think I said if people were doing it, I think was the word that I used. We could go back and...
Okay.
I'm sure Elliot will have a blast cutting this one together.
Hardtop.
They were smoking some reef when they came up with the way that all works.
Pre-reef though. Like,
Yeah,
60s?
early 60s.
There was marijuana around for a long time.
It wasn't like real mainstream, right?
There was LSD and stuff in the 60s.
But Beatles openly smoked and talked about it in 64 to 65, which is a year after the 63 Lincoln.
63.
60, yeah. So Hendrix, Grateful Dead, Woodstock 69 made it seem communal. By the early 70s, it became mainstream.
So because the Beatles didn't talk about it till 64, it is far-fetched that anybody
people did it. It's
okay.
not like I don't think that the Beatles were wandering through a field and were like, "Oh,
Look at
mate,
that."
would you look at that?
Exactly.
It's an interesting plan. Let's just
Exactly.
roll it up and smoke it, shall we?
So there was people smoking
No, dude.
weed.
You have to do the entire next podcast in that accent.
In the John Lennon voice. No, it fucking existed, dude. Like,
I
but
know
it
that's what I
wasn't
was saying.
Popular.
That it existed. You said, "Did weed even exist?"
We'll have to go back and look.
Okay, that's fine.
Will Troy install a big stereo system?
Yeah, he used to. Remember he did the one for that Manny. What was the
Manny Fresca.
It was a different one. The
Yeah,
ball player.
That was a Lincoln, wasn't it? No, that was a.
That was for the skater.
No,
What was that thing?
Yeah, he'd do it.
I don't care how good the exhaust sounds.
Lincoln's got a thump.
I got it. Well, I don't care what it is. It's got to have a good stereo system. I gotta have music. I'm a music junkie. So
Trucks are hooked up with.
oh yeah,
There's a lot of room for stereo in there.
yeah.
The problem is the convertible. I mean, you're going to wash out your highs when that top drops. So you're going to probably have to have you might have to have a roll bar with some remote mounted tweets, really to get the whole sound stage where it needs to be.
Yeah, the roll bar would look cool in there. Tweeters on it. He's sick, dude. And that's why you picked Troy to build it, not Josh Henning.
You think that was my style?
Yeah, you said it,
No,
dude. You said it.
You're starting to really piss me off. Starting to really piss me off.
You said it. You said it.
All right, Bryson, it's been an absolute
Been a
amazing
blast,
time.
dude.
Absolutely. yeah.
Make sure to lick Phil's glass before you leave.
where do we-
I want everybody to know.
Where does everybody follow you at? How do we find you?
Fabricated metal, right?
Yeah, fabricated metal, and obviously it's with a Y because of my name. Fabricated metal is my personal page, and then underscore PRD design on Instagram. And Instagram's been an amazing tool, so it's something we continue to use and put stuff out there. But yeah, I mean, we hopefully get out to more shows here in the next couple of years, and we'll get that 67 out to some shows and show it off with your guys' chassis and stuff. And yeah, appreciate the opportunity to be on here. And
Appreciate you coming out, man.
been great.
Keep fucking
Great.
ripping.
Great trucks, great products. Keep up the good work, dude. And we look forward to seeing what you're rolling out in the future, man. Thanks for
Appreciate
coming
it.
out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Appreciate it.
Yep.
See you again next week.